Good morning. My name is Todd Compton. I'm filling in for Ray Terry. I feel like that's a huge honor. I appreciate him asking me to do this for him, and can't say that I'm not a little nervous, but I'm sure everything will go well. I got some really good help here in the studio with me. I got John Wade from Supereagle Autocare and Tommy Townsend from Springhill I can't ever say
Farm
Apiary.
and apiary.
Yeah, there you go. That's one of the words I have a hard time saying, but looking forward to a great show this morning. Want to get just kind of get started, and I want to introduce John Wade from Super Eagle. You want to
Appreciate it.
reach out to everybody and kind of tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, John Wade, Supereagle Autocare. We're in the North Charlotte University area, and we opened back in 2011, and been there. I was a technician for about 20 years at a couple Mercedes dealerships, and had the opportunity in 2011 to open up. And looking forward to expanding in the Charlotte market and continuing to serve the community.
All right, so you're a technician. What prompted you to open your own business?
That's a great question. We were, it really was at the dealership, really being able to take what I learned as a Mercedes technician and seeing the customer service and being able to take that out and provide it to everybody, trying to do a higher level service, seeing what was offered, and the way customers are treated, and just being able to control that in my environment. The other side of it was, as a big corporation, not being able to control really my environment, what goes around it, from the way it's sold. And not that it was a bad environment, it just a lot of other people controlling my outcome.
Okay, awesome. All right, and Tommy, what's your story? How'd you get to where you're at?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's a long battle. General contractor by trade.
Now, there was something before general contractor, wasn't there?
Yeah, I was also an educator. That's
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
I taught middle school and high school both.
Mhm.
Left and started my own contracting businesses, do commercial and residential. And after I sold my last contracting major business, I went back and thought, we live on a farm. We used to have bees back in 79, 80, 81. It's fun to kind of get back into the bee business, and I love raising them. They're just such intelligent creatures, such hardworking creatures, and they do so much good for the environment. So we started getting back into bees again. And that kind of just being an entrepreneur, it's hard to just keep things sitting in one place. So it just continued to grow. And now we took it from just raising a few bees to where we have expanded our apiary to pretty large size. And we not only sell pure raw honey that people like so much, but we also make infused honeys, which is something a lot of people don't really understand about. Some places will sell infused honeys, but they call it's really a flavored honey, not an infused honey.
Okay.
The difference is when you infuse something like our ginger infused honey, we take raw organic ginger, peel it, slice it real thin, put it in the vat of honey, and it's a ratio, weight to volume, and mix that and stir it every single day for 30 days. And that ginger actually ferments into that honey and becomes part of the honey. And it is not only flavorful, but the health benefits are just phenomenal, what it does. And we do a lot of those, and I'll talk more about them.
Absolutely, that's pretty awesome. And what we do at Compton's Automotive, we do have Tommy's honey at there, and a lot of our customers seem to really enjoy it. And sometimes they just come in just to buy the honey. So if you get the opportunity, I'm sure there's a website or something like that they can buy it from, or locations. But
that's springhillfarm.net is our website, and we ship, but we also deliver to Charlotte a lot because we're in and out of Charlotte quite often. So
got it. And we'll get into more of that during the show. And I want to reach back over to John and John, what are some of the biggest challenges you see in the automotive industry right now?
I think it's awareness of, as technology grows and expands, it really is awareness, even on the technician side and the customer side, is how to embrace that technology, as well as inform people of why we need it and why the repairs are cost what they do, with training on technician side, and really keeping up with technology is probably the biggest hurdle for both sides of it. Think of the complications of even driving cars now, and all the switches and buttons, and on the customer side of, you've got everything from full digital, where it's just a screen, to you got a few buttons left on cars, versus I think of the Fords are famous for their buttons on their steering wheels. You got, I think one of them, we had 17 buttons on the steering wheel. And just imagine the distraction that is driving, figuring out which side is the cruise and which is the volume on the radio. And so just being aware of all the technology is certainly a challenge.
So something, is there anything you could inform the listening audience out there about the new technology of vehicles, or anything they'd be prepared for, or anything they need to be aware of on their vehicles, or anything that's coming down in the future? Can you think of anything?
Certainly, everybody is, and it's now standard, is the lane changing, driver assist, and all of that technology. Even my personal experience from one car that has adaptive cruise, which is now a fairly standard option, to a car a few years old that has lane change assist but doesn't have adaptive cruise, and driving one that has it and getting used to that, and then jumping in another one and setting the cruise. And it sounds simple, but you rely on it, and it doesn't keep the distance, and you're almost going to run somebody over, because, and so the being aware of what you have and the technology is so important. And that's not stopping. It's all back to autonomous driving. That, that's not the goal, but that's where everybody is. That's where the technology is moving towards. And I'm sure you've seen, or if you haven't, the taxis that are in some of the, we saw them in San Francisco, the autonomous taxis that literally there's an app that you can literally call a taxi and it'll pull up, no driver, and take you wherever you want.
I have not seen that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
buckle up, because it's coming.
Wow. So and with the automotive industry, is there well, at least in your shop, what's some of the main vehicles that you see come in?
So with my background in European and Mercedes, we're about 30% European right now. Got a big broad spectrum of technicians as well. So we really do work on everything. So one day it'll be Mercedes and BMWs, the next day it'll be Ford, Chevys, and Toyotas. And so we really, because of the variety of technicians, we're able to, and then they can overlap as well. But as a whole, we really work on it. We work on everything.
So I'm going to put you on the spot on a question here, and this is going to be just purely I guess. Well, I guess like I can't think of the word. What is your favorite vehicle and why? Opinion related. That's what I meant. So your opinion.
It's funny you asked that, because last night, so I like my F-150, my truck. I literally had an option. I was going to drive a different car that I had needed to test drive. I was like, you know what? It's the weekend. I like my truck, and it's not a new truck. It's just, it's got 236,000 miles on it. Seats worn in, all of that good stuff, and everything works and all that. But as a overall, I do favor Mercedes, just with the over the road. If I were to go on a trip, it is just because, and of course I'm biased because I worked on them for so long, and the engineering going with it. It's just a nice, comfortable. A big S-Class would be my just. Forget price and all of that, but just over the road, if I were going on a trip, that would be the car.
Awesome.
I know them pretty well as well, but nothing beats my F-150. That
I love my F-350.
Yeah,
it's just comfortable. It's up there. You feel good.
Yeah, and I guess I'm in the middle. I got the F-250, so I guess we
got
a Ford.
At least we're all Fords here, right?
We're going to do a Ford commercial here shortly.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Even though I do have my old Chevrolet back at home as well too, so that thing's still kicking. It's 1996, so I'll never get rid of that.
That's funny.
But so
back in a quick Ford deal back in I think it was '07. I was looking to buy an Expedit or a new SUV for the family, and went and looked at Ford and all of the SUVs, full size SUVs, Suburbans and Expeditions, and even the Excursion at that point was an option, which that's like a barn on. I mean, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
But so literally, and this was I was looking at '05 areas, the Ford, and why I went with Ford, the engines both have their issues, and both, Ford and Chevy. The center console on the Ford was a solid large center console, and the Chevy was like a tiny little armrest in '05. I don't know if you remember those that folded up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was my deciding factor. It had nothing to do with anything else other than the size. Next year, the Chevys came out with a bigger console, but literally was so anyway.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because when I was looking for another truck, I did look at a Chevrolet, and it was a 2020 model. And so went out and drove it, and we went down this country road, and I'm short. And so I'm, if anybody knows me, they know I'm short. So, and of course I'm sitting in the studio here with two guys who are over 6 foot tall. So, but I was out driving the Chevrolet, and I couldn't see over the hood.
Oh my, yeah.
It seemed a little bit boxy. And so then the dealership happened to have the F-250, and the way the hood kind of curved down, it just felt more comfortable to me. So it didn't really have anything to do with the it's just depending what fit,
Yeah.
And
and
I guess it's kind of where I want to go with is what, a lot of people will ask me in my shop, what's your favorite vehicle? And I do have my favorites, but the manufacturers out there, they do, for the most part, a lot of them do build, I think, some really good products. It just depends what fits. There are some products I would stay away from, but that's something, if you want to message me wherever I can let you know, but I don't want to put that over the air. But for the most part, just like, you get the console, mine was, the hood. And I don't know, Tommy, why'd you buy yours?
I bought it because I wanted a vehicle that could pull some heavy trailers when I load, go to a show or go competition or go anywhere we go. Honey weighs a ton. It's a lot of weight. So I've got a work trailer I use for construction that weighs a ton. And then I've got this Honey trailer that is also enclosed. And when we load it up, it is super heavy. And I wanted something that could pull that with no sweat. You don't even know it's back there. And it's comfortable. Again, I think all three of us have brought that up. It's comfortable.
Right.
That's what's nice. So that's why I got mine. You talk about technology changing in the automotive industry. The bee industry is the same way. Back when I first got into bees, 79 and 80, you just put some bee boxes up and the bees kind of took care of themselves, and wasn't a big deal. Didn't have varroa mites, you didn't have hive beetles, you didn't have all these things you have to worry about, okay? But now I help people all the time get into bees. I help train them, teach them. I sell bee nukes, and I also sell packages often. And we catch swarms, and I'll set somebody up with a swarm, which is like a package of bees. And if anybody wants more clarification on the terms, just call in or, write in and ask about it, and I'll explain it. But it's really cool. I sold this one lady, actually gave her, because she's brand new. Now, she's an experienced veterinarian. She sold out. She's young. She's retired. And she just wanted to get into bees. So I sold her I gave her a nice swarm of bees. She put them in a box. And then she called me over there a week later to go through and check and help find the queen and mark the queen when we find her so she's easier to see. And when I went over there, I noticed she had there's a set of scales you can put underneath a beehive now, and also a transmitter inside the hive that measures the humidity and the heat and all that. So she has gone full tech with that, and she's paying real close attention to how much weight they gain each week. That tells you when the honey flow starts.
Wow.
And how much they're building. I mean, like, it gained 40-some pounds in 1 week. Okay. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty.
And she can go online and look at the heat and humidity and all that. And it's just really neat, way to keep check on your bees. So she's doing that full. That's how technology is affecting bees. It's also the way we treat bees. So anyway,
wow,
it's a lot of fun doing that.
I bet so. That's I guess they'll have iPads here shortly, won't they?
Yeah, they will. They will.
That is pretty cool.
All right, so it looks like we got coming up in our first break, so we're going to take a moment. And if y'all got any questions or anything like that, please feel free to give us a call, 704-227-8986. We'd love to hear from y'all. I'm kind of winging it this morning, so any questions would be helpful. So see you in a moment.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Libretto's Pizzeria was established in 2004 in New York City. It's located in Charlotte on John J. Delaney Drive in the Ballantyne area, serving up authentic New York pizzas and a full Italian menu. Come in casual, hang out, and relax. We offer dine-in, takeout. You can order delivery. We could also cater your special event. Libretto's has got you covered. I am Mike Libretto. We are also the home of Spinello's famous infused take and bake pizzas. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com and spinellospizza.com or call us at 704-714-1442.
Whether you're building new or remodeling old, let ABS Insulating make it comfortable. ABS Insulating knows the business of comfort. Using the latest products and technology, ABS offers an array of solutions. Using fiberglass and spray foam, and all installed by certified technicians. ABS Insulating has been saving energy dollars with great customer service for over 30 years. They're a leader in the industry. Call them today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So before we get started here, we got a couple messages coming through on that first segment there, but we got one fellow out in Texas that's listening to us. His name's John Firm. He's got, I think he had a question for Tommy. Thank you for listening, John. I've known John for a little bit of time, and I've gone out there to visit him in the out in Texas before. But John asked, he was asking a question: is honey a really good medicine, and for what?
Honey is an awesome medicine. God gave us the honeybees for a very good reason. And the pharmaceutical industry in the U.S. has tended to bury a lot of natural medicines that are very, very helpful for us. The ginger, for instance, ginger by itself actually kills certain cancer cells. There's lots of studies in Europe that show this. So when we started making ginger infused honey, it has so much ginger in it that when you take it, the medicinal purposes are just awesome. It helps your digestive system, but it also kills certain cancer cells. We also started making, because we were selling to different nurses and other places, doctors' offices and all, we started making a ginger turmeric honey. Now, the turmeric is used for pain and inflammation, and it is all organic and natural. So we take our natural infused ginger and we mix the turmeric and black pepper into it. And I can give you a good example. We have a elderly friend that is he's 80, maybe 82 or 83 years old. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It was all through his body. He had lost tremendous amount of weight, had no appetite. You know how it is when you're very sick. And he was in a nursing home on hospice, and we went to pay our respects because we love him and his brother. They're just awesome, awesome people. And while we were visiting him, we were talking to him about, why he couldn't eat and what he didn't feel like. So we gave him a pint of our ginger turmeric honey. And I'm not doing this as a sales pitch. This is just answering the question, okay?
Sure.
And told him what you do is you stir it up thoroughly every day before you take a spoonful, but you take 1 tablespoonful a day. You can take more. It's not going to hurt you, but 1 tablespoonful a day is all you need. And he started doing that. And this is it just blew us away, what happened, and his brother. Within 2 weeks, they sent him off of hospice, back home to be with his brother, because his appetite had started to pick up. His strength, of course, started to pick up, because the turmeric stopped a lot of the pain and inflammation that he was having. So he felt good enough to start eating again, while the ginger and the honey was starting to work on his system. And of course, honey is a natural antibiotic. And I'll tell you something else about that. Pretty cool in just a little bit. But 2 weeks later after that, he's pretty much off the walker and just on limited oxygen. A week and a half goes by. They take him to the oncologist. They run a blood test, and his PSA level is dropping. So go back now. This is over 9 months. His brother called me a couple of weeks ago and says, look, I just took him back to his cancer doctor, and his physical therapist is blown away, thrilled with how strong he's getting and how well he's eating. And then his oncologist called us in and says, hey, I got to tell you, his PSA level is half of what it had been. Now, that tells you a lot right there without anything else. It's just, and he stayed on it. He's been on it ever since, and he loves it. And the thing about it, a lot of people, turmeric tastes terrible. But when you mix it with ginger-infused honey, it's an awesome flavor. It tastes great just to eat by itself. But you can put it on toast or anything you want, or just people put it in their coffee even. It's crazy, but it's just good. So everything we make has wonderful, wonderful healing properties to it. You can look up what vanilla does. You can look up what cinnamon does. The garlic infused honey. Garlic is so good for the heart and all. It's really good. We are making a couple new ones now. And that's lavender infused, because we had a health food store that buys from us, and they wanted us to make some lavender infused honey. And I was very skeptical at first, but it's about 2 weeks into the process, and already you have to taste a little bit when you're making it. Like a good chef. You can't cook something without tasting it. Golly, Pete, that is going to knock your socks off. It is so awesome good. And then we were at another place, and we tasted some whipped. I don't make whipped honey yet, but I tasted some whipped elderberry honey, and the flavor was delicious. So we went back and we started infusing elderberry, making some elderberry infused honey. And again, each of these takes 30 days to make, and it's a lot of work because you have to stir it every night for 30 days. But it's golly, that's already smelling and tasting super awesome too. And elderberry is great for you.
This is quite interesting. As far as me growing up, and knowing about honey, all the different infused things going into honey is just absolutely amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
and then now the whipped and so you're,
Yep.
I mean, all these things are now all these types of infused honeys. Is this something that's been around for a long time, or is this
In-
something that's kind of fairly new to the?
Infused honeys have been around for centuries.
Okay.
But again, a lot of that stuff got sidelined and buried
Mm.
when the pharmaceutical industries came in and wanted to push what they push.
Got it.
And, I don't fault doctors and all, because doctors are trained by the pharmaceutical industries. That's who funds the colleges. That's who funds their CEUs every year. And so they are pushing what they're taught.
Sure. Right.
But you're seeing lots of doctors now going back to the natural medicines, a lot of them, and having phenomenal results. I'll tell you something else. We went to, and it really shocked me. My wife went to her foot doctor because she had a toe issue she had to deal with. And when he turned her loose after doing a little bit of minor surgery on the toe, he told her he knew we raised honey and had pure raw honey, which is don't buy honey from a store necessarily, because a lot of that's been processed.
Mm.
A lot of it comes out of China. And in order to get around the tariffs, after they boil it and super screen it and do everything else to get off, where it came from, it goes to Vietnam or Taiwan or someplace and then gets shipped into the U.S. so they can get around tariffs. That's what was one of the things they did.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So try to find a local apiary that you can actually trust and buy from them. But these, if you take pure raw honey and you put it on a cut or a burn and bandage it each night, 2 or 3 nights, that sucker's going to be going away. It's not going to leave a scar. It is an awesome antibiotic. Okay. I had a 3rd-degree burn on my hand. You can't even tell where it was. It's awesome. And
Now, like when we growing up, we used aloe.
yeah,
Mhm.
aloe's good too.
Okay.
But honey is a natural antibiotic and, antibacterial. That's why it lasts forever. It never goes bad. Now, people will pull a jar of honey out and it may be crystallized.
Mhm.
And if it gets cold, it'll crystallize quicker.
Right.
If it has a lot of pollen in it, it'll crystallize quicker than if it doesn't.
Okay.
If it has other bad ingredients, it may crystallize also. Okay. So you don't know which is which. That's why you got to know where you're buying it from.
Got it.
But all you got to do is put it in warm water up to around 100 degrees. Don't get it much more than that. If you get over 160 degrees or so, you can damage the healing properties of the honey. You kill the good nutrients in it. So definitely don't get up in that range. Keep it around 100 degrees. Stir it every once in a while. Put it out in the sun and stir it every once in a while.
Now, I always
And
put it
go
in
back.
microwave.
Do not microwave it. Yes.
And why
a
is
lot
that?
of people do
Why
that
not?
because the microwave will kill a lot of the nutrients in the honey. Absolutely. Good point. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, but it's quick.
It is
come on.
quick. Yes,
Yeah,
it
come on
is.
now.
That is. And if you're only after the taste, it works. But,
Right. Right.
but if you want the health benefits, yeah, don't. That's a
Interesting.
good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Interesting. All right. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think springhillfarm.net is going to get crashed with all this information and people getting some honey. This is good stuff.
I hope so.
I question for you. I don't know if mentioned lavender and different things like that. And when the bees pollinate, can you control, or does it matter where they're pollinating from with the effectiveness? Like, so lavender, if they were able to pollinate on lavender or different things,
It would give the honey an entirely different flavor. It really would. Just like a lot of people love to buy, oh gosh, just went by. What's the one up in the mountains you always get? Golly.
The Smoky Mountains. You talking about the North Carolina mountains?
Now, yeah, well, it's the tree they buy it from. I mean, the bees go out, they pollinate that particular type of tree, and they'll come back, and that has a distinctive flavor.
Okay.
Golly. I don't sell it because we don't have those trees in our area.
Okay.
If I get it, I have to find somebody that I really trust up in the mountains that makes that. People ask for it specific sourwood. There you go. People
Okay.
ask for it specifically all the time. I personally like our wildflower honey better than I do most sourwoods, but I've had some sourwood from real reputable people that was really good. But there's only a short period of time that those bees are working the sourwood blooms, sourwood blossoms on those trees. So yeah, and if there were huge lavender fields, the honey's going to taste different. It's going to pick up a lot of the properties of the lavender. Absolutely.
That's pretty
Wow.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some even some dogwoods out and you know when they're pollinating, because it took them a while to figure this out. But I'd walk by and you just hear, oh, there's a bee somewhere.
You will.
And then you look up and there's thousands of them. They're
Yes.
just all over. It's fascinating when it's in full bloom.
It's really cool.
It
isn't
is. It is.
And bees are such hard workers, and they do different things at different ages. So they've got their own job descriptions all the way through, from the time they're born till the time they die. And they only live a little over 30 days on the average.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All
And, and another neat fact about that is bees in the wintertime can live up to 3 months. It's the same bee, same egg, same everything, but it's the way they adjust their body. Bees are out working so hard during the summertime, and a bee can work all its life to make a half a teaspoon of honey. You know, it's just nothing. But when you put all those 80,000 or plus bees from a hive
Wow.
into making and producing full time, almost 24/7, you can get a good bit of honey. So it's a fascinating process.
So you ever been stung?
I get stung quite often. Yes, it used to be when I first got back into it. I'd get stung and ouch, man, you know, that hurt, and it'll swell up a little bit and itch for a day or so.
Right.
But now it takes me a minute to even realize I got stung. And bee sting therapy, there's a lady, you can go to Pollen Peddlers, I think it's .com, and she is in Monroe, and she does bee sting therapy, and she's got a fascinating story. She had like lupus MS, a whole bunch of complications, pretty much bedridden, but she studied. She could still study. She couldn't even verbalize real well at one point in time, but she was studying about bees and bee sting therapy, and her husband ended up working with her to get a hive, and she actually used the bee sting therapy to cure herself, and it's phenomenal. Now she walked in, she's perfectly, almost 99% normal, you know, to you and me. And she does that for other people in Charlotte and ships all over the place. So bee sting therapy is awesome. It's really, really a great medical phenomenon.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So I've seen your beehives, and I remember your wife told me not to get too close. And so, yeah, I see them swarming quite a bit. Now I've never understood, because I see it on TV. I haven't seen you do it, but I mean, I'm sure you do, but the smoke.
Oh yeah.
What, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's maybe a lot of people out there know what's for, but I have no idea. You know,
you smoke them just lightly to kind of break the pheromone scent, because they two things trigger bees: pheromones and vibration. Okay. So when you're working with bees, you handle them as gently and methodically as you can, so you don't shake things up, because that's what triggers them. If you take a weed eater and go right outside your beehive, they're going to come out after you, because that vibration is going to rattle them. Okay.
Yeah. Been there with yellow jackets.
Yeah. Same thing with the yellow jackets. Yep. But smoke breaks those alert pheromones and makes them feel, you know, more calm. So you don't want to smoke them dead, just a little bit of smoke, and it kind of settles them down. And then you can take the top off the hive and go ahead and start working them. And you usually start from the outside and work your way in, because they build, most of their honey starts on the outside, and then their brood starts working more in toward the middle. So you don't want to take a chance on rolling a queen or hurting a queen if you got a thick hive, thick rack, and you're picking it up. So yeah, that's a good point.
So now, with all this bee, you know, you've mentioned you were in education, then you're general contractor, and then your passion became bees.
Right.
So what training or what education did you have?
Awesome question.
I mean, it's not like, you know, my wife and I were like, hey, we're going to have 34 beehives tomorrow. I mean, we don't know the first thing. So how did you get started or someone wants to get started in bees? You know, how do you get to that point?
If you want to get started in bees, one of the best things you can do is go to like Mecklenburg County Beekeepers Association, Stanley County Beekeepers Association, Union County Beekeepers Association, any of those major associations. And they hold classes once to twice a year for beginning beekeepers. And it's not expensive, but you do need to go through that class, and you learn a lot of the basics, the equipment that you're going to need, which is, you know, specialized, see what you can afford and what you can't. It's best to start out with like 2 hives, because if one hive was to have an issue, you might be able to save the second hive and not. But if you only have one hive and it has an issue, it's gone. Okay. And then you you feel defeated. So you learn best by doing, but those associations hold those classes and teach you, and you can become a certified beekeeper like we are.
Okay.
And you can go on to be a journeyman beekeeper, then a master beekeeper, and so forth. Just keep learning.
Okay.
State has programs also.
So would you ever teach something like this?
I have taught. We do help
Okay.
teach those classes. Absolutely do. And then I bring people out to the farm, and they get to go through hives with me and learn what the bees are. We help them learn to spot a queen and learn what the drones are and what the different workers are. And
Drones.
That's the only males in the hive.
Okay.
And they're fatter, a little bit bigger than a regular bee, and fatter. And they're worthless except for breeding. Okay. They can't sting you. They don't have a stinger.
Okay.
And they have to be fed. They don't feed themselves. So the bees feed them. And come wintertime, you don't want to be a drone, because come wintertime, they kick you out because all you do is eat. Okay. So, and then when you do have that 30 seconds or less of euphoria
Right.
mating with the queen, once you separate, you literally explode and die right there on the spot. So,
Sounds like a great life.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to be a drone. I'm going to tell you that now.
All right. Well, yeah. So when we're talking about training, I don't want to, and we'll get back to the bee topic, but I know John has done some training as well, and in the automotive industry. I know I'm kind of flip flopping here a little bit, but I just kind of want to get a little bit of both industries in here, for the show, and then with Ray's pit tools in schools and people coming up through different industries. It's kind of important to hear that the training is available for a lot of different career opportunities out there. And so, and by the way, I do want to make a shout out to one person out there. I hope he's listening. His name's Bert Noonan. He runs West Boulevard Ministries, and I tell you what, I've been out there to visit him and his staff and the coaches there, and what he's doing with those kids out there. I just want to give a shout out to him, and I know he's doing
awesome.
doing a great job. So, John, I know Tommy's talking about training and education. What type of education do you provide or have done as far in the automotive industry, or for young people that maybe want to get into the industry?
Yeah. No, I want to not switch back to bees, but I'm still stuck on bee sting therapy.
No problem. No problem.
That's its whole. I have my own version of. I had my own instance of yellow jacket therapy.
Oh yeah.
And I don't advise it.
Right.
But I think I might have blacked out a little bit when you said bee sting therapy.
Oh.
Like, a little flashback of some yellow jackets, but sure, it's a little different. And no, it's pretty cool though. That's pretty cool. But
well, and you're talking about vibration. Taking a lawnmower over a yellow jacket hole. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's that'll wake you up real quick.
Oh, for sure.
They're a whole different breed right there, but that's not something you want to mess with.
Yeah. But anyway, that was instantly what I thought of. I was like, no, I'm sure it's different. Wake up.
It is.
Right.
So but training in any industry, it does start. I think everybody can agree with the attitude and the want of the individual and their drive, because we as owners or as trainers, if you will, can only push somebody so far. And if you call it pushing, you can lay it out there and here's the path. But if they don't want to do it, so it has to start with them wanting it. And it's not just a job, it's a career. And this has to be the foundation of it, of them wanting that given. Then it's the providing the right path for them. And how do they, automotive, most technicians on the technician side of it are learned by doing and instead of in a classroom. And so there's a need for both, but knowing how we talk about it in the industry as somebody that's book smart,
right,
but doesn't know which end of the wrench to use, that type of thing. So there's certainly a balance to that, but the local community colleges have some great programs out there, and with people willing to even subsidize some of that.
Oh, that's right.
For the right program, and so being able to reach out to community colleges, even in high school, starting that path of
Right.
evening classes or being able to do some, call it a dual enrollment.
Okay.
Certainly the path for a young person looking to get into the industry, that by far is the best path.
Well, and you're right. One of our technicians with us started with us when he's in high school, and then went into the Central Piedmont program, and has graduated and does very well. And you're right. And there has to be a want there to be able to do that. And you know, we're talking kind of about training, and we're also talking about before the show. Tommy, John, and I, we were kind of talking about the businesses, the completely separate. The Apiary.
Yep.
And,
There you go.
and
Nailed it.
and the Automotive, and it's quite interesting how many similarities there actually are.
Sure
And
is.
running the business. So we may get onto that when we come back. We got to take a break, and we'll be back here shortly. Again, any questions or comments, or just call us at 704-227-8986. See you soon.
To find out more about the show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
John DeLand here for Crownton Cannabis. We at Crownton Cannabis care about you and your health. All of our products, from edibles to topical creams, are all third-party tested for purity and quality. 4 locations, open 7 days a week to help you with any concerns you may have. Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can call us at 704-412-7121 or online at crowntoncannabis.com.
Let's face it, we do not like bugs, and especially spiders and ants. Unwanted pests in the home are not only creepy, they can also spread sickness and cause significant damage to the structural integrity of our homes. Kilo Exterminating has been taking care of pest control problems in the Charlotte area for over 70 years with award-winning customer service. Moisture readings are standard with all crawl space inspection. Call Kilo Exterminating at the first sign of infestation, 704-333-9855, or online at kilo.biz. Again, that's 704-333-9855.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I loved the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. You need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Again, we got Tommy Townsend here and John Wade. So while we're on break, we did get a couple questions. So this is one question is, are young people not taught about a career is? It seems like they are, or I'm sorry, let me try to read this again. Let's see. Are young people not taught about what a career is? It seems like they all want a job. Yeah, I kind of looked at that, and as me coming up through my career, the passion that I always had was wanting to work on cars and fix and basically just fix them, and so that was kind of like my career path, and where I've kind of stuck with it. And that is a good question. Is the young generation? And I'm not saying all of them. I think this is probably a valid question. Is I think in the older days, I know like my mother, my brother, there's always a career path, or you go work for a corporate company, and the ladder is the end game. And so, how does this affect all the businesses around us, or any of them? When it comes to a 14, 15, 16-year-old, do they have a career path, and how do we show, or how do they get to know their career path? And so I'm kind of, I know, Tommy, you are starting to kind of need help in your business, and you've been through the education system, and then contracting, and and I will say there are times when I look as an employee to hire, I want to know if this is their career path, or is this just am I just another stone or another skip, just to just to fill a void. And how do we train or teach the younger generation, or how do we get that message across, that or to work with the career path?
Yeah, no, it is, and that's the age old question is what's the career versus a job, and it goes down for me, and what I've seen, and it is really mindset of more instant gratification. Is I just want what's for tomorrow. I want to be able to go home and have a good weekend and start Monday again. That's the job mindset of just the quote grind,
right?
And the career is a long-term path. I'm going somewhere. I'm not just worried about this weekend. I'm worried about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And a lot of young kids or not, people in general, plenty don't have the long-term goals. And that's, to me, is as you're talking, as I'm interviewing, and it doesn't mean just because they're here for a job, do they have the mindset? Are they open to training, which then becomes a career? It becomes instead of just I'm worried about Friday, now I'm worried about next month and saving money because I'm going to get married or whatever it is. It's a mindset change that has to happen at whatever age. It just doesn't necessarily mean young kids. It's everybody.
I can tell you when I saw it changing. Okay, because when I first got out of college, that was back in Jimmy Carter days, and interest rates were 20-some odd %. There were no jobs. But I was smart enough, even though I had my manufacturing technology degree, I also had an educational degree. So I took a short-term, what I thought was going to be a short-term job in education. And back then, education was a career. Teachers went into education. They knew they were low paid, but they got certain benefits. They knew they'd have retirement. They knew they'd have health care. So it was a career. If they stuck with it and did a good job, they would have something in their retirement. Nowadays, kids emulate, schools are a microcosm of society. Okay. Teaching has changed completely.
Okay. Teaching
is no longer a career. Teaching is a job, like going to McDonald's and flipping burgers. I don't mean to degrade it that way. I'm not trying to degrade teachers. They do one heck of a job, and they're extremely important. But the legislatures over the years have watered that down. They've taken their retirement away. They've taken any kind of, long-term health care away from them. So they go to work. They work crazy, stupid hours, even when they get home, doing stuff to prepare for the next day. But they're just paid below substandard wages as teachers, okay? all that salary and all that big dollars is going to administration and overhead and the Department of Education on the state level. And then thank goodness the federal level's changed. But students see that and they start emulating what the teachers are doing. And it used to be, like you're saying, when kids were coming up, they had vocational courses.
Sure.
That's what I taught, vocational courses in school, which was the awesome way to get kids motivated and interested. And they got to, you would take an interest inventory and learn kind of what your career path might look like, what you really had interest in. And when kids are allowed to go into something they're interested in, they perform much better. And then they start looking at that as, hey, I want to do this, and this is going to be my life's work. But a lot of that got cut out, and a lot of other junk got put into education. And I'm not trying to make this a political thing at all.
No.
It's just the truth.
Yeah.
And as a result, kids don't know anything about what they want to do or where they want to go. A lot of the vocational programs are out of the schools. That's real vocational programs.
Correct.
If you want to learn how to change a tire or, change the water in a radiator, so very basics, but schools don't have the money to invest in the equipment to keep up with all the automotive changes that are happening. So they're archaic before they even get opened and started.
Right. Now, so with this all being said, I want to interrupt for a second. So, I understand the educational challenges, and then then taking the vocational things out of schools. However, how much of this responsibility lays on to the employer?
There is some, for
sure.
sure.
I'm guilty of it, and I've seen other industries and other things like you're trying to find that cheap paid person just to fill a spot, and then there's no career path. And so how are we as business owners affecting that? As a business, for me, I own a small shop. When I worked for the dealership, I wanted to be a service man. I wanted, at the time, shop foreman, service manager, and at some point, I wanted to own the dealership. Well, being in a small shop, what is a career path for one of my technicians? And that needs to be clearly defined.
It does.
And so, will the technician, does he want to, or he or she want to own the shop or own a shop, or does he want to be the best diagnostician in Charlotte, or does he want to have, be the best at certain something, and it's up to me to understand what that might be, and then offer him that career, even though he's working for me, that's his career. Now, and I will say, I fall short of some of those things. But that's kind of why I want to kind of open this up a little bit is defining what a career path is and we're fighting a double-edged sword, the education and then employers. And, not all employers are created equal, into this.
And you all talked about early on what you had learned by going through that process as an employer, trying to find the right person to hire, and then being able to turn over enough of your own responsibility to that individual and trust them to do what needs to be done. That is a hard thing intuitively to do.
Right.
But if you are a strong enough employer and you get to the point that you can actually, you still have to supervise to a certain extent, but you have to trust and turn that responsibility over to somebody else and watch what they do. And you pointed out great. I mean, you would go out and just hit a few questions to find out if they're actually using the right equipment or whatever, if it's just laying on a bench. Explain that.
Yeah, well, we got in on torque wrenches, which is you use it for wheel lug nuts, and lug bolts are the most common thing that everybody they have. Every bolt has a certain torque, but as technicians, we want the shortest route and all of that, cutting corners. But a torque wrench is a way to make sure that the wheel is torqued properly versus just running in with a gun and the ooga torque, right. So and that's what standards do we set? And across the board, it is our responsibility to provide a career path, because if we're not, we're providing jobs and we're our own problem.
And that career path can be to be the very best technician in the world and to stay there and be part of your business. Or it can be to learn enough to move out and create your own business somewhere. And a lot of business owners find that second part a threat. And it shouldn't
Right.
be a threat. It should be something you take pride in. Hell, I trained this guy. You
Yep.
know?
Yep. Yeah, and we set the standards down, down to the torque wrench. Are we torquing them properly, or are we using the impact gun? And we set the standards across the board, even for training. Is what are we providing for them for training? And if they don't have the drive, what's hindering them? It's our job as owners, as leaders, to find out. Just because they don't have the drive doesn't mean they're not a good person. They've got issues. We all have issues, right? And so finding out how we can make that solution for them. Here's the career path and what's going on at home. All of that affects the career, and it's our job to look into that.
Yeah.
So sounds like we're going on break.
Yeah, we're going on break. So we top of the hour break, and we will come back here shortly, a few minutes, and we'll continue on.
Love it.
You awake yet? Grab another cup of coffee and join us for hour number 2. Todd Compton, owner of Compton's Automotive, continues his conversation with Thomas Townsend of Springhill Farm Apiary and John Wade of Supereagle Autocare, talking more about cars and bees. Lots of great information coming your way. About Your House is brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store, formerly known as Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances. Same great store, different name. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. About Your House is also brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Todd Compton. All right, we have a question. Welcome back to About Your House. This is Richie Rich on the board. We have a question from Elizabeth, and she is wondering if the turmeric and ginger one helps with mental health by decreasing inflammation. That is a question for Tom of the honey guy.
I've been called the honey guy quite a bit. That's good. I'll wear that badge fine.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I firmly believe that the turmeric ginger honey does help with all the inflammations. It's very, very significant. I've got a lady, I got to tell you real quickly. We've got a lady that bought one of our jars of honey at a Hickory Christmas show.
Okay.
And she bought it just on kind of a lark. I mean, she was just very skeptical, but she had heard us talk about it all day long. And she bought some, took it home. And 2 weeks later, she calls me back. And she says, I need to order 3 quarts of the turmeric ginger honey. We only made it in half pints and pints. Okay. And I'll get to this question, but I got to explain this. She told me that she had not been able to make a fist. She had an autoimmune disease, had not been able to make a fist for 2 years. She dreaded getting up in the mornings because her body just hurt so badly. Okay. And she had tried everything the doctors had offered to give her. And she'd even bought Manuka honey and all that kind of stuff. But the second day she was on this turmeric ginger honey, she said, I woke up, I could make a fist that could put a knot on your head. And I felt good. And I haven't mind getting up a single day since. And my husband has been taking it for his arthritis, and he's had the exact same great results. And that's what we get from everybody. Inflammation, whether it's in the brain or in anywhere in your body, the turmeric and the ginger in the combination with the honey is just a superfood. It's extremely powerful. And it seems to work for, don't know anybody it's not working for, honestly. It's great. So yeah, I think it will. And there's one other thing too. The vibration that bees put off in their hives when you're out around them.
Right.
People treat PTSD by going out and sitting next to hives. And that vibration actually helps them work through PTSD issues. It's well documented and it's awesome. People sleep over bees. There's special bee houses where the bees are underneath, and that vibration and hum of the bees helps the whole human system. It's just, bees are absolutely incredible, guys. They're just wonderful.
I know we're kind of, weaving around on different topics this morning, and we're talking about vibrations and PTSD. A friend of mine was telling me about that was suffering from PTSD, and he didn't have bees, but he had chickens. And it didn't hit me until we've had chickens for about 4 years, so I'm sure I think it's around about 4 years, I think, maybe a little bit longer. But my wife and I, we just enjoy sitting out and the chicken run and just listen to them kind of cooing and just making the little noises. And
yes,
I didn't quite, and you sit out there and it's quite tranquil. And I didn't, and so when I hear about that people that maybe come back from some of the wars, and that they'll have chickens and that will be soothing for them. And so the buzzing, the vibrations, that makes a lot of sense, as well. And
we noticed you haven't had to wear your straitjacket in years.
No, yeah. I enjoy going out there, and hanging out with my chickens. And of course, we got 6 new ones. We don't have names for yet, but and talking about vibrations, and I want to tell you this quick story. I've been working a fair amount in the backyard to just kind of clean things up. And the question I did have for you is, and other people may have these questions, but difference between a carpenter bee and a bumblebee.
Oh yeah, carpenter bees can't sting you. They don't have a stinger.
Right. So I was cutting up some wood, and it was some limbs, things like that. And also I kept hearing this buzzing noise, like burr, burr, just like, what the heck is that? And I'd stop and I hear it again. And then finally I realized the little hole in the piece of wood, and it comes on out. And then yesterday I was out walking out in the woods, and I put my foot on a falling down limb, and as soon as I put my foot on it, it started buzzing. I'm like, well, So the question I got is, do both bees do that, or is it just the carpenter bees? And what and if they're flying around you, how can you tell which is which?
They're a little hard to tell, except bumblebees, if they're flying around you, they're usually going to be coming after you. Okay. You've gotten too close to their nest.
Got it.
Carpenter bees aren't going to come after you. They'll buzz around and just flirt, but they just survive to bore into the wood, lay their eggs, make their nest in there. And it's just a bee at a time, so they're not going to harm you at all, but they will destroy any kind of wood property you got around you if they can get into it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So to answer your question, if you get stung, it's a bumblebee.
There you go. That's right.
Now you know.
Well, I when I go in the backyard, I just kind of, I see them flying around me, and I don't swat at them, and they don't really swat at me. So I'm not sure, which is which, but I figure, well, hopefully if I leave them alone, they'll leave me alone.
I'll tell you a quick anecdote about that. when I do swarm removals. Okay. People will
Mhm.
call me. I had a lady call me last night after this show. If they're still there, I'm going to go get a swarm from a lady up her, it's in a bush by her house. But when people call me now to go get swarms, whether it's a cutout in the eave of a house or under a porch or wherever the bees get, I make them send me pictures first
Oh,
because it started. I had a nice family called me and said, "We got honeybees in our upstairs bathroom, and they're coming through the wall and getting into the eave of the house." And I said, "Okay, I'll come out there and we'll check that out." I said, "How do you know they're honeybees?" Well, Terminex came out and they walked in, and I don't want my son to get stung, but I got stung. I taped up the hole. I got stung, but they said there were honeybees. They couldn't do anything with it. They call an apiary guy, so they called me. So I get out there, and it's not honeybees. It is yellow jackets. So I end up having to exterminate those yellow jackets because Terminex won't come back and mess with them. They're in the house for some reason. For some reason, they wouldn't come out. So I exterminated them. I'm a general contractor, so I cut out the sheetrock. I patch it back. I foam everything shut up there with a special foam that also keeps them from building back, and close it all up. And they're happy. But I've gotten to where now, anytime, even this lady last night, I said, "Send me a picture of what they are and where they are. I want to see what the bees look like." I've had them send me pictures of black and white hornets on a hornet's nest, thinking that was honeybees, from yellow jackets to wasp to, you just don't know what you're going to get into. So they have to verify what it is so I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah. So speaking of wasp, we have some. I heard a kind of an old, I don't know, maybe an old fable, but we're actually, I think we're down in Charleston, and we wanted to know, and we were all seeing all the homes. I'm sure there's a particular name for this, like colonial homes. I'm sure there's a different name for that, but the eaves would be painted blue. And why do you think they were painted blue?
It is more subtle. It keeps the mosquitoes and everything else down, keeps the bees from building up in there, wasps from building up in there. They don't like that color or something about it.
Yeah. So it must be a certain shade.
It is.
So, because we did that to our house,
yes.
To our eave on our front porch. And so we got a little wasp nest developing. I'm like, we thought that would work, So fortunately, we caught it before it got too big. But the yellow jackets, I was reading about them, and they're part of the wasp family. And actually, I can't remember all the details, and you might know, but we had a wasp nest on our pergola, and
wasp or yellow jacket.
This was wasp. I mean, we had yellow jackets in the ground, and when I was kind of looking at wasps, I was like, okay, these things when they sting, they hurt. And these things are always mean. What good can a wasp be for the environment? Why are they there? And so I don't remember off the top of my head, but it seemed like they were. And I'm sure you may know, but they're like not scavengers, but they would eat other.
They do
eat other.
They'll even eat honeybees. Did you know that they will actually eat and kill honeybees, just like a praying mantis. A praying mantis will kill a honeybee and eat it, but it also a hummingbird. They'll catch hummingbirds and kill them and eat them. Wow! You don't realize that, but they will.
I didn't know that. Wow. So I am reading this. And so, and I was trying to understand what purpose they served. And there was certain other insects that they would eat that would also get in your way. So, I mean, well, do I take the hive down, or do I take the wasp nest down, or do I leave it?
Take it down. There'll be plenty more. Don't worry.
Yeah. So. That's my little story. We're talking about or I'm not sure how we got to the wasp, but I know we're talking about bees and the vibrations, all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of my experience with wasps.
Now, for you car guys, I got a call driving out of Charlotte a week or two ago. A tow truck had hauled into City Chevrolet a car that had been badly wrecked. Okay. And when he parked it back there, he told the people, said, "Don't go in that car. It's full of honeybees." So the owner couldn't get anything done. So he called me and said, "Can you go out and check this for me?" So I stopped by on my way out and went out there. I went way back parking lot, way back out there. I go out there and there's no key. I finally get one door open, but the trunk you can't open, and it's just full of stuff inside the car.
Right.
But there's not a bee in the world in there. Not a wasp, not a honeybee, nothing. So I go back inside and I said, okay, I checked it out. There's no bees in that car. I said, what did the tow driver tell you? He said, well, he said there were like 5 or 6 bees in that car. I said, 5 or 6 bees. If there's a swarm of bees, it's going to be 40,000 bees, okay, or 20,000 bees. It'll be 5 or 6 pounds of bees. Evidently, there must have been a few wasps that had built in there before he moved it. And
Right.
this time of year being moved, the wasp didn't have that location, so they couldn't find it back. But that's the kind of stuff you get into when you don't know. Now, I called the owner and told him, he says, what do I owe you? I said, man, I can't charge you for this. I was on the way home. I stopped by anyway. But if you want to make a donation to help us with our bees,
Right.
you know, here's my Zelle number and you can make a donation. And he did. And that was very nice. He didn't have to do that. But I did at least get them to where that he felt comfortable going into his car to work on it. You don't want to open up a car that's full of wasps.
No,
Well, it's certainly fear of the unknown. If you
Yes.
don't know.
well, you know,
Certainly.
and I've had one of those don't knows.
Yes.
And you know, I was we had this SUV towed in, and so it when it came in, I mean, first thing I do is I get in the vehicle, turn the key. It's almost like I got no battery power. I was like, okay, no big deal. Yeah. So I went to go reach under to pop the hood. Big mistake. Big mistake. Apparently there was a wasp nest that had created a nest right underneath the hood by the latch. And so when I went and I popped the latch, I'm sure that's got him going. Didn't see him come out of the hood yet, but when I put my hand on that latch to open up the hood, they let me know real quick.
They will.
Yeah.
And you know, wasp will build high usually or in something like that. Now, yellow jackets, they tend to mostly build in the ground, but they will build in a structure like the eave of a house or any other little place they can get into like that. So they're not always in the ground. Now, yellow jackets will come out and swarm you with hundreds of yellow jackets. They'll eat you alive.
So verified that.
Honeybees don't want to sting you. They only come after you if you threaten them or unless it's an Africanized honeybee, and that's a whole different animal. They are vicious. They are terrible. We don't have any that I know of close around here, but in Texas, there's quite a few Africanized honeybees, and they are very, very dangerous to handle. You have to be suited up.
Wow.
You have to know what you're dealing with, and all you can do is really eradicate them. So if it's a true Africanized honeybee.
Yellow jackets, what's the right way to eliminate that? If you see a hole in the ground and they're active, and
if it's a hole in the ground, I usually try to burn them out.
Okay.
I'll fill that hole with gasoline and burn them out. That's the easiest, quickest way. And then dig it up to make sure you got all the larvae and everything, because they'll have multiple queens down in there laying eggs and all. Now, if it's in a house, you can't do that. So there's some special fomicides that you can. It's kind of neat. When they build into a wall, they get into a wall, their nests are very moist and wet, and it will actually soak into the sheetrock and deteriorate the sheetrock. And that's when they start getting holes and start coming into the house. Okay. So I take my infrared monocular and I find out where the actual heat signal is for the nest. And then when I find that heat signal, I know where to make a little hole, and I stick the nozzle of that fomicide in, and I just keep peppering that and filling that hole up until I get all of them. You hear the buzzing get less and less and less and finally go away. Then you know you got them all. And then you can cut that out, clean all that nest area out, and fill it up with, again, a hard fomicide.
Got it.
That they can't eat back through. If they do eat it, it kills them. If you try to caulk, there's something else interesting. If you try to caulk honeybees, you got honeybees in a place and you try to caulk it shut, honeybees will eat through the blame caulk to get back to that queen, back to their nest. Eat to it in no time. I mean, just an hour or so. It's incredible what they can do.
Well, it sounds like we're coming up on our break. And actually, one thing I heard you talk about was a tool that we actually use in the same tool we use in the automotive industry.
Yes.
So we can just kind of
parlay into that.
There you go.
There we go. So we'll see you back in a few moments.
The show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, owner of Libretto's Pizzeria and Spinello's Pizza. I opened my first pizzeria in New York City in 2004. Not long after that, I took my passion to Charlotte, North Carolina, serving up a taste of New York City with great pizzas and authentic Italian cuisine. Come in, relax, and enjoy Libretto's Pizzeria, located off Johnson Road in the Ballantyne area. Libretto's is also home of the famous Spinello's Pizza, a 10-inch infused frozen pizza, offered in both pepperoni and plain cheese. Visit SpinellosPizza.com for more information, to find a retailer near you, or just to order for pickup at the restaurant. Libretto's Pizzeria is open 7 days a week, a great place to relax, dine in, take out, delivery, or for catering. Visit us online at Libretto'sPizzeria.com. Call us at 704-714-1442 for the best in New York pizza and Italian cuisine. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Let's face it, we do not like bugs and especially spiders and ants. Unwanted pests in the home are not only creepy, they can also spread sickness and cause significant damage to the structural integrity of our homes. Kilo Exterminating has been taking care of pest control problems in the Charlotte area for over 70 years with award-winning customer service. Moisture readings are standard with all crawl space inspection. Call Kilo Exterminating at the first sign of infestation, 704-333-9855, or online at kilo.biz. Again, that's 704-333-9855.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
Good morning. We're back. So during the break, we did have a caller call in. We got Uncle Red.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And you?
I'm doing just fine. I was going to talk to your exterminator guy or the bee guy and tell a funny story about Yellow Jackets. I built a few houses, and for a gift years ago to my wife, I added a window while she was out of town in a wall, and I did everything correctly. I flashed, and I caulked, and I did everything, and I thought I had it all fixed really neat, you know. And years went by, and along the way, unfortunately, she passed away, but that doesn't have anything to do with the story. But the crazy thing was, I'd be sitting in the living room, and the light would be on above me, and I would see 2 or 3 yellow jackets flying around a light fixture in the room. You know, it had 3 or 4 light bulbs in it. And I kept saying, those are yellow jackets. Where are they coming from? So, because I never had it before. In the house, I'd had the house for a while, you know, and I got to thinking. So I started going outside looking around, and I finally found a little puff around the molding where I put the window in. It was covered T111 siding, if people know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
Strips in it. And I had caulked and I checked everything I thought and got it off. Well, those guys are pretty creative. If they find one little breach to get up in a cavity, they like being in the ground. I go along with the timber, and I've blown plenty of them out of the ground when we were clearing lots and stuff,
Right.
But, so I called a friend of mine who was 40-something years in the exterminating business, doesn't matter who he worked for. He worked for a couple of people, and he had a regular list of customers. And he said, yeah, I'll come down there. I'll see you sometime this afternoon or something. So I knew where they were. I knew where they were going in and out. And I knew they were in that wall somewhere. So he comes down. I said, well, what are you going to do? Because I'm one of those impatient people. I've got impatience.
Right.
I want you to. I know you're a technician. He's the one that always told me, I'm not a magician, I'm a technician. You know what I mean? But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
Sometimes timing is everything, and sometimes it takes more than one trip to do something. And people don't want to understand that. They think you can just come up, snap your fingers, and the problem goes away.
Amen.
Well, the real world doesn't operate like that. But anyway, so he's sitting there, and the sun's going down. And I see Yellow Jackets going back in that hole. And I thought, you going to spray them? If you got something you pump up and put in there, if you got this or that or anything. And I said, what are you going to do? We're just standing in the driveway watching Yellow Jackets go back in his hole. He said, and he said, unfortunately, he did smoke. And he just propped himself up against the side of the truck, lighting a cigarette. And I'm standing out there just foaming at the mouth, wanting it doesn't.
Well, sure.
And,
Yeah.
He said, I'm waiting on, and your gentleman can elaborate on it. And I'm pardon me for not getting his name, but anyway, I just been
Tommy.
listening to you
It's
guys
Tommy.
while I'm driving. Yeah. And he'll tell you, he can elaborate on it. He'll clarify what I'm saying. We waited until it was dark, and then one more came in. He said, I'm waiting on that one that's out there guarding that hole. He said, he's going to be out there till it's completely dark and everybody's gone in there. He said, he's there as the guard. And I said, really? Do you really believe that? He said, hey, I've been doing this 40 years. He said, this is not the first time I ever saw Yellow Jackets in a wall. So anyway, to finish up, he goes to the back of the truck, and I'm expecting him to pull out some big can of something, and pump it up, shoot it, and do all this stuff and everything. And and your man will know what it is, he puts this purple, real fine powder in a little rubber ball thing.
Yep.
I don't know what you call it. You have to be extremely careful with it.
Yes.
It's so fine, it's worse than tree falling. He climbed up the ladder when he was sure nothing was left, and he stuck that thing up in that hole, and he squeezed that bowl 2 or 3 times, and he said that stuff will float all up in that cavity, and it'll kill everything in that wall. And I said, you got to be kidding. He said, now, caulk the hole up and forget about it because they're gone. And you know what? He knew a whole lot more about exterminating than I did because he cured the problem. And y'all, I'll flip back and get on the radio, and I'll get back where I can hear you. But he can, but maybe that'll make people a little smarter. The man can't just come out and do it in 5 minutes. You got to diagnose it, figure out what it is, and then figure out what the best approach is. But it takes a lot of patience to do it. In other words, he said, I can't come down there during the middle of the day because I won't get all of them. He said they got to all go home. So anyway, y'all have a good show. I'm going to keep listening to you while I'm cruising up the road. And happy Easter, and I hope everybody listening has a nice Easter also.
Thank you, Uncle Red. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Great story.
Yeah, and he's right. all bees have guard bees that cover the front entrance and protect the hive. Working honeybees at night is entirely different than trying to work them at daytime. In the daytime, they fly around and they might check you out around your head and body and that kind of stuff. But at nighttime, they tend to light on you directly, and then they start crawling. So if you don't have boots that are tied around your ankles, and I just wear my pants usually. At nighttime, they'll tend to get down and crawl, and they'll crawl up your legs and anywhere else they can get into place. But daytime, they don't usually do that. So bees act differently. And honeybees don't really see red light. So you can use red light at night. If you use a white light, they're going to come out to that white light and they'll cover a flashlight up or whatever. But it's just kind of neat. Little things like that are fun.
Well, I tell you what, he was mentioning about the yellow jackets. Back years ago when we were in our house in Still Creek, our back patio had a electrical outlet on a little concrete pad. And at the time I had an electric weed eater. And so I grabbed the extension cord and I flipped the little lid open on the electrical receptacle and plugged the extension cord in. And I thought I got bit by electricity. No. These things started biting, popping me. I'm thinking, oh my God. It's like, before I knew it, there was a pretty good amount flying around me.
Yep.
So there's a local hardware store up the street, and so I went up there and I bought some sort of a bee killer spray, and I stood out on that patio and I'd see these things. I'd see the yellow jackets start coming out, and I'd spray them, and it would kill them instantly.
Oh yeah.
I did that for hours.
Yeah, you won't get it. Yeah.
And you're right. I don't. In fact, I'm thinking we did have to hire an exterminator come out because they kept coming out.
They will.
Yeah, but hearing the Uncle Red's story about and then how that you wait for the guard I guess to come back in last. This was the middle of the day.
And you don't want, like, if you're taking honeybees out of somebody's wall or out of their ceiling or whatever. You don't want to kill the bees. Definitely don't want to kill honeybees anyway. And exterminators will tell you we're not going to kill the honeybees. Good exterminators. They will, tell you to call somebody from an apiary to come and take care of them. But if you were able to kill all the honeybees, and it's hard to because they're so far back up in there and the queen's back laying eggs and they're constantly, you may put a dent in them for a little bit, but they're going to hatch out and you have brand new ones coming back in as long as the queen's in there. Or even if you manage to kill a queen, but there's still larvae and bees, they'll hatch a new queen. And then you got all that honey that's left up in there to draw whatever to come and eat it, in your wall, in your house. So you want to get it totally cleaned out and fixed back up right. You don't want to leave that stuff in there.
So when you remove a hive, what do you do with do you take it back to your farm? Do you blend it? What's the process?
I love to get swarms from different areas because if I go to Concord or to Charlotte, and I'm in Stanley County, if any place I go, when I bring that hive back, and I do bring the hive back, and I've got a special bee vacuum that I use a lot of times because it's just easier and quicker, and it doesn't hurt the bees. It's not like a shop vac that kills them, sucks them up, and kills them.
Okay.
This has protective stuff inside of it, and it controls the volume of the suction and all that, so you can do it. And then I can leave it on low so it pulls air through. Because when you get 5 or 6 pounds of honeybees or more, there's a lot of heat generated and they'll suffocate in no time if they don't have air flowing through.
Wow.
So I can travel an hour or more and keep the bees safe. When I get home, put them in a new hive box, like you say, and make sure they've got a little bit of food to take off. But when bees swarm, they swarm with everything they need. They are ready to build a hive. They're ready to make comb right then. They're she's ready to start laying. I mean, it's almost instant. Okay. It's really cool. In just a few days, they'll have comb and larvae and everything else in that swarm, wherever they landed. But when I take them back, I try to help them grow, make sure they're good and secure. And I'll either give that to somebody that's trying to get into beekeeping, or I'll sell it to somebody that's already in it but wants to increase their hive, or I'll keep some of them myself because the gene pool is different. And the drones they produce from that queen in a different area is going to put a new drone in my area, and it makes my gene pool stronger for the queens in my apiary that are breeding. Because a queen will breed with 12 to 15 or more drones at a flight, and she'll fly 2 or 3 mating flights. And then she has enough built up in her spermacetic sac to lay thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs. Okay. And it's just such a cool process. And when she has more drones from different areas, it just makes the whole apiary stronger.
Wow.
And more resistant to things. There's just so much neat about what they do. It's just phenomenal.
Now I remember, I think you've told me, what's the cartoonist? Was it Pooh Bear or something like that? They have always eating the honey.
Yes.
Now, if I remember correctly, there's a big misunderstanding.
Yes.
About between bears and honey.
Yeah, bears. People think bears, because of the Pooh Bear thing.
Yeah.
People think bears are after the hive for the honey.
Right.
Okay. Bears smell protein,
Mm-hmm.
and they can smell protein a long ways away. And the larvae are always pure protein for those
Mm-hmm.
bears. The honey is a side benefit, but they're really after that larvae and that protein, and that's what they want to scarf up. And they will, a standard wooden hive, you know, people, you'll see them sitting out. People have a brick sitting on top of them to keep the lid from blowing off or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
I use some of those, but I also use primarily Apiary hives. It's a heavy, strongly built plastic hive that's totally insulated, and it latches together. And it also has handles that pull up that make it easy to pick up and separate and all that. I love those hives. They also, the entranceways have little holes in it, so you don't have mice getting in, and you can narrow those down for wintertime and open them back up for broad summer when they're working or honey season. So the bees don't have as much area to guard because they have to protect themselves against wasps and against other insects that try to come in, even yellow jackets that try to come in and invade the hive to get their honey. Okay. So when I'm opening up a hive, I have to be careful not to leave it open too long because it will invite other bees from a stronger hive to come and try to rob these out. And that happens.
Wow.
There's just a lot of things to go with it. But no, bears, they could knock over an Apiary hive, but they really have to work at it to tear it apart.
Got it.
Okay, now they might damage what's inside, shaking it around, but you still got your hive. Wooden hive, they're going to trash those things in no time. So you need to put electric fence around if you got bears, something like that, to deter the bears from getting to, because bears will get to them. Skunks, people don't know this. Skunks will walk, if your hive's sitting too low to the ground, a skunk will walk up to that hive at night, take its tail and hit that front entrance. And the guard bees and all get all excited, and they'll send bees out, and they'll get caught in the fur. They get caught in hair and fur. That's why people want to fly in your hair. A bee gets caught in there, and it may sting you because it can't get out. Okay. And people have a natural tendency to want to swat, but they can eat 3,000 or 4,000 bees a night. Getting them caught in their tail, they'll walk off, 50 yards and sit down and just pick them out of their tail and eat them.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? It's just,
that is pretty wild.
Wow.
That's, that's nature.
It is. It is.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So listen to Uncle Red in the story and talking about the gentleman that came out and with the patience of knowing exactly what to do. And, we, any industry, any a business can relate to that with a customer not knowing the process of how to do something.
Right.
And they're thinking, it's all about communication, and in any industry, whether it's bees or automotive, and informing them of, this is our process, this is how we do it, this is what you can expect. And the anxiety of what Uncle Red had, not knowing what he's really doing until he explained it. And just the, call it peace of like, okay, he knows what he's doing. And when he was talking about that, I just instantly is like, that doesn't matter what the industry, and even going back to training with technicians and employees, is showing them that process and the patience that's needed to diagnose a car or to pull a beehive out of a wall. Is like, here's the process. And that's just incredible.
If I take my car to Todd's, first question I'm asking, what do you think it's going to cost? That's what everybody wants to know. What's it going to cost me?
Right.
What's wrong, and what's it going to cost me?
And how fast?
Yeah.
When do I get it back?
How long is it going to be before I get it back? Because that's another major factor. So you guys, you really do have to educate them of what we're looking for, how we diagnose this. And they need to have some idea of that equipment's not free. Good gosh, what you all have in your shops, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And then it's the knowledge. If, like, if I go out to do a cutout in somebody's house, I have to charge them for the cutout because it's my time, it's my tools and equipment. If something breaks, I got to replace it. I've usually got a helper with me. I got to pay him something. So I do charge for doing cutouts because they're also paying for my expertise. I know how to take the moldings down without tearing them up. I know how to fix something if it does break. I know how to take the lights apart to get it down so I can take the ceiling, all that kind of stuff. And then I know how to seal it all back up so it looks like I was never there.
Right.
Same thing with you guys with your cars. You know how to diagnose it.
Right.
The equipment's not cheap. You got to pay for it. And then you got to pay your people to work on it and get it fixed. And then you got to guarantee that you attach to the end of it for the work you did. So,
Yeah, and you hit on communication.
Yes.
That's big. When Uncle Red was talking about, the guy was sitting along the truck smoking a cigarette. And he's like, and you could tell in Red's voice, even on just telling the story, he was getting
anxious.
anxious.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, and we see that in our industry as well is trying to stay on top of that communication. And we do get that question, well, what do you think it's going to be? Like, well, it's a 2018 Mazda comes in with the check engine light. What's it going to be? How much is it going to cost? Right now we have no idea. We need to run through our process, and this is our process. And as soon as we get that, then we can tell you exactly what it's going to take to repair the vehicle. But it's the unknown of what that bill's going to be, and that's where we want to give that accurate information. It just takes a little time.
And there's also some times where you can't give 100% accurate information because you don't really know what the part's going to cost or where you're going to find it necessarily, especially on some of the older models. With me, I went to a lady's house to get bees out. They looked like they were in the soffit. They weren't in the soffit. They had crawled down into a brick column. There was no way I could get to them without tearing the brick up.
Oh, gosh.
The woman was probably okay with me tearing brick up to get the bees out because she wanted to protect the bees. But that's a massive thing to tear it up and then have a mason come back and fix it back up. And the husband was, no, we'll do what you got to do to kill them and just get them done with, And that, it breaks my heart if I have to do something like that. But sometimes you find yourself in a situation that you couldn't foresee. You don't know what you're going to get into.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, just like us, we get into that.
You do.
Yeah. And then, I think I had I don't remember what type of vehicle it was right off the top of my head, but I remember talking with the customer, and the car had been, unfortunately, had multiple issues. And it's like you fix, I had to explain to her, like peeling back an onion. We got to get this and we got to get, and we get, we need to bring this thing back to life. Yeah. And it's going to take, once we get this fixed, we need to drive it, and you might have another problem here, but we can't drive it unless we fix this.
That's right. And then you find out.
And then, and so it's, it could be a big, but it comes down to communication. And
you and I have traded videos back and forth of mechanics that drop an oil pan or a transmission case.
Right.
And it's filled up with something they can't even pry out of that somebody put in there. Okay. They had no idea what was going to be in that until they pulled that case down. But somebody thought they were doing something right and just totally gummed it up, So you don't know. You don't. You try to be as accurate and communicate as best you can. But a lot of it comes down to trust. And once your customers know you, they learn to trust what you're telling them. Okay. You don't ever want to avoid that trust at all.
And that's difficult. I think, and I think it's, well, I'm sure it's a lot of different industries, but I'll give you a little quick story on one. We had this gentleman call in to us, had a Toyota FJ Cruiser, said that he had rotated the tires himself. Anyway, after he rotated the tires, he's got shake in the steering wheel. And actually, well, looks like we're getting ready to a break, so I'll finish that story after the break. But it's trust and communication, and I'd like just to share this one when we come back. But we'll come back here shortly.
Find out more about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Atero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595, or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, we're back. John Wade with the Supereagle Autocare and Tommy Townsend from Springhill Farm. So we left it off at a quick story I was wanting to say about the FJ Cruiser coming in. And this gentleman calls in, said that he's got a vibration in the steering wheel after he rotated the tires. And so he thinks it needs a wheel bearing. Now, I'm thinking this gentleman that called in has never worked on vehicles before other than just rotating his tires. And he was clear on that, but he felt confident that he rotated his tires fine and that, but and it's a wheel bearing problem. He wondered how much it was going to cost. Now, again, this is guys calling in. I don't know what the vehicle looks like. I don't know if it's rusted. I don't know. I have no clue the condition of this vehicle. And so and one of our things that we do at our shops, we do not quote jobs on the phone. We need to see the vehicle.
Yep.
And so we need to know what we're working with. And so he's pretty adamant about that it needed wheel bearing. And I was like, well, sir, I tell you what, wheel bearings typically don't cause the steering wheel to shake back and forth. I said, I tell you what, why don't you swing it? Are you close by? Can you swing it on by here and let's go for a ride? So he comes by. And he pulls in the front parking lot. He comes in. I greet him, and we go. He hands me the keys, and we go for a drive. I know both of y'all have seen my front parking lot. It's not very big, and so I didn't even make it out of the parking lot. And the front wheel was sitting there jerking left to right, left to right, left to right. I'm like, oh my gosh! So I stick my head out the window. The left front wheel was getting ready to fall off. he had not tightened the lug nuts. Going back to torque
Back to that
wrenches.
torque wrench, small world.
Now, I get, a lot of customers want to know, hey, they want to say, I want to know what's going to cost to replace XYZ part like that. It's what this guy did. He called in, and now if I give him a price and he wasn't happy with my price and he kept driving that thing down the road, what could have happened?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
So, and I try so it's not so much about how the shops just want to get your car in, and lock you in. It's like, hey, we need to see this, and so we can give you an accurate, estimate or assessment of the vehicle, so we can
truthful assessment.
Right. Well, truthful and yeah. And so that, I mean, so that's one thing that we in our industry have or try to get across, and we probably more than likely we're not always graced on effectively communicating that. And not only that, but the years past, the automotive industry has had a bad rap on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just kind of want to share that story and just but anyway, we ended up tightening up the lug nuts, and I took a torque wrench and checked all the other ones, and it was good to go. So it's not always what you think, and think is what may be wrong with your vehicle. And like Tommy, you're talking about, someone calls you up, hey, I have a beehive in my house. What's it going to cost?
Yep.
I don't know.
I cannot give an accurate assessment. I can tell them, if they shoot me pictures first, and I can kind of see what I'm looking at.
Right.
First, I got to know it's honeybees.
Right.
Other than something else. And then I got to know how high up it is and where it is and what I'm going to be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can say, it can be as low as, $150, $300, that
Mm-hmm.
range. Or if I've got to take all these moldings off and drop the gutter and take these lights out and all that, and then put everything back and then come back and paint it and all, that's more trips. It could be $1,200 or $1,500, just depending on what I get into. So I can't give you an accurate, even when I can do an estimate like that. And you don't want to do it, because once you say something to somebody, that's stuck in their head. You told me it was going to be this. Well, no, I said, that's an estimate. It depends on what we're actually going to get into.
Right.
I don't know if this $300 piece of molding snaps instead of coming loose, and I have to go out and buy a new piece of molding to replace it. That's different. I do my best to take it off without damaging anything, but sometimes old wood breaks, So
yeah, and I think we don't try to get over. We're not trying to get over on the customer.
No.
When we give an estimate, I think it just comes down to we're just trying to do the right thing, really the right thing for the customer.
That's right.
I mean, and just say, hey, this is,
Every transaction, every conversation is building or losing trust with a customer.
Correct.
And over the phone, you're literally as good as your phone, call it skills are, and price is what you have.
Mm-hmm.
When you're face to face, it's the eye contact, the handshake, the presentation of the shop.
Right.
You spend money on your waiting room, you have it cleaned, everybody's in uniform. That's part of this is why we charge what we charge. This is why we are who we are. This is what you're a part of.
Yep.
And you can't do that on the phone. And so it's very, very difficult to present all of that just by price. And it's not just by price. So that's super difficult. And that's part of that training, part of that process of the customer knows what to expect when they come in, and being consistent on our side,
right,
as a company, to make sure no matter who they talk to, they have the same experience, the same process, and very, very difficult to, to do as you grow. But doesn't mean it's any less important for the customer.
Yeah. So, with, Tom, you have some interesting stories on customers. You got anything interesting that's happened to your shop within your shop?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always, so as you grow and, as you set your standards,
right.
You can also then let standards go, and then adjusting that back to where you need to be creates conflict, whether it's with a customer or with an employee. And that's the challenging part. As you grow, you set standards, something falls, and making adjustments to a customer. You said, you made the term, not my customer, a little bit ago, talking about that. And everyone's our customer. I mean, we want to serve everybody. It's whether or not they want our product. and I want to earn their business as much as I can.
Yes.
Right.
And it's their choice. Now,
Yep.
I don't fire a customer if they choose not to come back because of how we do things. I truly want to be able to serve the community. I'm not here just to make $1, and it's
Sure.
we're providing a product, and whether or not they want it is their choice, is how I try to look at that, and not have the mindset of I got to get rid of this guy.
No, and sometimes
that's-
if they leave you to go somewhere else, they might turn right around the next 6 months or year and need something and come back to you because they found out
Yeah.
what you were really about and how trustworthy you were versus the other place they went to. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And now I will say that there are times I think you need to fire a customer. I mean, at least we've had a customer that was quite disrespectful
Yes.
to the staff.
That's different. Yeah.
When you've got someone that drives in the back of your shop, thinks they own the place, and hollering at the technicians. I mean, whoa.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, nope, we're not doing any business anymore. For me, my thresholds, disrespect, cuss words, and is like, no, we're
that's the
not,
line.
we're not.
And that's a hard thing to do as an owner. I mean, it's not, because you're protecting, and I have the mindset, we call it protect the fort.
Mhm.
Like, my job is, if there's something going on that should not be going on, it's my job to step. If not, who am I as a leader to remove that customer from our company? Because that is, we're protecting everybody, and the respect that you gain, because everybody sees it.
Sure.
And now it becomes, they let customers run all over us. And there's a time and a place for a conflict, but when it gets over and becomes degrading, or, like you said, vulgar, there's no room for that. No, we're all respecting each other, and if we have an issue, let's work through it, and what broke down where. But when it becomes way over the line, and we've had to do that.
Right.
By all means, that is truly firing a customer, and then they'll come back, or call in, and we've reached our limit.
Yeah, we've been in a situation where, on a fleet company, one of the drivers was like that. And we pretty much had to push him out the door and lock the door. And then the fleet manager called in, apologizing, just of his actions. I mean, but anyway.
Yeah, you asked about situations, and I don't want to, I don't want to be too direct, but there was one where we actually had, we did a state inspection. Of course, those rules are very specific, and of course there's leeway with the technician's opinion on something.
Sure.
And but this car had, I believe it was whatever it was failed, and it was legitimate. It was a European car, and the customer called the police.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wow, because we failed it, and he wanted us, he basically got upset that we failed it. We should have just let him know, and because it goes on record, and it's goes to the state and all of that. And
then he has to address it.
He has to address it. It's,
right.
So police show up, and they literally like, well, you better go get it fixed. They literally, there was he kind of chuckled a little bit, and it's like, they failed it. You better go get it fixed and pay him.
Wow.
Pay him, it's $30, or it was $6 because it failed. But I mean, it was like the extreme of, what are the police like? It's
sure.
They absolutely stood by us, and it was legitimate, and they didn't even look at the car or anything. They're just like, well, it failed. What do you want us to do? Pay it and leave, please. So,
you were doing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like we got a break coming up. And so when we come back, we'll see what else we can get into on conversations.
Send us some messages. Ask some questions.
Yeah, I know. I think all three of us have some chicken, so we might get into a little bit of chicken stories. Let's see what we got.
Hour number 3, Todd Compton, owner of Compton's Automotive, discusses more about the automotive industry with John Wade of Supereagle Autocare and their firsthand experiences. We also talk more about bees and honey with Thomas Townsend of Springhill Farm Apiary, what you need to look out for in both areas, and what you need to know. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. About Your House is brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store, a family-owned business, and they've been in a same grade store, different name. They've been in business for over 70 years in the Carolinas. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, and they're constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. About Your House is also brought to you by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Todd Compton.
Good morning. All right, so we're back, and actually, we do have Uncle Red calling back in. Good morning, Uncle Red.
How you doing?
All right.
I just want to get on my soapbox and say something.
All right.
I'm listening to what the two automotive guys are saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they don't know me. I don't know them. You've talked to me on the phone and stuff, but my background is in automobiles. Was from the time I was about 13 years old.
Okay.
I've got a car in the NASCAR Hall of Fame that won the championship.
That's awesome.
In 1970, myself and one guy built all the engines, and we hold the qualifying record still to this day. We were on the pole. It was either 18 or 19 times.
Wow.
Yeah,
in 1 year. Nobody will ever break that record. But all that being said, the statement I'm making is that if you buy a home and you buy liability insurance on it, so if something happens to someone when they're around your house, they can't sue you and take your house, hopefully.
Right.
Everything else, and the biggest next expense you have is your automobile. And you are more liable for everything that happens with it than anything else you own. I mean, well, that holds true for motorcycles and stuff, but we're talking about about automobiles.
Sure.
And you can tell I'm old because I call them automobiles.
That's quite all right.
But anyway, they cannot afford to let anything that they physically touch or see or evaluate go out the door. And I think they will agree with you. It can't go out the door unless they put you on notice, or they can't really hold your car, I don't think, legally, but they write it up. And I'm going to give you a good example, because in running some later model stuff through big dealerships, the bigger the dealer, the more liability he has. I mean, you take like Hendrick. If you take a car, if you take a car to Hendrick, I'm just picking Hendrick out of thin air.
Sure.
When you drive your car into service, in there to the service writer, they've already rolled your car across the platform that's evaluating the weight and the alignment on the suspension. They know all that. Now, they pay a fortune for this.
Yes.
And they give you a printout, and the first thing they tell you is the suspension on your car needs to be adjusted, or the alignment needs to be checked. And they'll give you the paper to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you build race cars, you do the same thing basically by measuring stuff. They go back and change the oil and stuff. If they see something they don't like, they record it. So you'll get a ticket for what they did, but you will also get a ticket that says there may be a problem with this item here, and they'll even price it for you, what it costs to fix it. And I'm just picking on Hendrick. It doesn't make any difference. You can go to Randy Marion, you can go to Ford Place, you can go to anybody that's big. The point I'm trying to make is the bigger you are, the worse the liability is, because they cannot afford to have you take a vehicle onto the highway and get in an accident and then something be wrong with that car. And because the history is recorded in the car, on the computer, and in everybody's records, lawyers are just sitting there looking for somebody to sue. And I think those gentlemen would agree with me. Now, maybe I'm way out of line, but I'm trying to make a point that the public needs to understand that this is not 40 or 50 years ago when something happened and everybody got off the hook, or somebody said, well, we'll try to work with you and get it fixed. There is too much liability. Man works his whole life building a business and building his name, and he lets one thing slip by. And the bigger you are, the harder you fall. I think they'd be in agreement with it. I'm curious to see what they would say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Red, I'm actually one of those automotive shop owners, and I do agree with you. And to take that a step further, we have people that call in that want us to install their parts that they've bought.
Well, that's a no-no, because now you're assuming liability for something that they bought from Brock Auto or something.
You're absolutely right.
Correct.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
just like and you're not being a prick for being that way. People used to say, "Bring the parts, and we'll put them on." And there's certain items that aren't really detrimental or going to get anybody killed or anything, but you don't know where the parts came from.
That's right.
And then how are you supposed to make any money? Everybody between people watching YouTube videos, which is the craziest thing there ever been.
You're right.
Because you don't really see the detail work. You can see basically where the part might be located on your car.
Sure.
That's okay. I mean, it got you aimed in the right direction. But the YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, it's a joke. I mean, yeah, it might help a few people. Or if you're mechanically inclined or something, it might help you a little bit. When you buy aftermarket parts, and I stay abreast to all this because I know a lot of people that run repair facilities and stuff, and I hear them screaming. I don't care who you're buying it from. I don't care if the person that you're buying it from, and it's an aftermarket part. Warranties, even the labor back to you, it's still an aftermarket part. And if the customer comes in and bought it, that just nullifies everything. So I wouldn't, if I ran a garage now or a repair facility, I wouldn't let anybody furnish anything. I'd say, hey, we furnish the parts, and yes, we mark them up a little bit, and yes, the parts we use cost a little more money.
Correct.
Because we buy quality parts, or we deal with people we are comfortable with.
That's right.
When we purchase the parts.
That's right.
We got somebody to go back to. You've got a way to go back. But people have no idea. I'm riding down the road right now, and I'm running about 65 miles an hour up here around Greensboro.
Okay.
All these cars can kill somebody in one wrong move. Or if one mechanic worked on one of these cars, it did substandard work or let something get by, you'd never recover from it. The fact that that it happened to you would be devastating to you as an individual, but as a business, it would put you out of business, or it would put you in a position where if you tried to stay in business, you could not afford to buy the insurance to operate. Would y'all agree with that?
Yeah, Uncle Red, I've got to tell you, I am sorely shocked and disappointed that I can't pull off a Johnny Cash and build me a car off of YouTube in 5 minutes. I mean, it just blows me away.
I mean, let's carry it one notch further. Everyone knows that the glass guy, the big name glass guy, no sense in saying his name, he'll come out and put a windshield in. The windshield he puts in meets most of the DOT and all that stuff codes. It's not an original manufacturer windshield. It doesn't have the mark in the corner of the windshield. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a serial number that matches the car. Okay. Sheet metal parts for automobiles, and everybody knows that body shops use them all the time. Now, I'm not saying that the sheet metal necessarily is going to get you in trouble, but you can, everybody knows the names. Certifit, should have fit, Keystone, I know them all.
Right.
Everybody, and they're all a little bit better than each other. They used to call it should have fit and would have fit,
Could have fit, yeah.
But and y'all know that. Y'all have heard that joke a million times. But yes, a guy can fit if he's putting new sheet metal, because honestly, y'all know and I know that when you're doing body work, it's a whole lot easier to put a new piece on. But if you buy genuine Ford or genuine GM or genuine Dodge or Chrysler or whatever it is,
right,
body parts, they're made out of the same gauge metal, same tensile strength and all. So you're actually putting the car back together just like it was. Does it cost 3 times as much to do it? Absolutely. And everybody's saying, well, why does it cost so much? Well, do you want, and how insurance adjusters are, they're going to try to get it fixed as cheap as they can. They're just worried about getting rid of you as the customer. But back to the part that makes you so liable, I don't see how some people sleep at night, because they'll put anything on anything. Now, or what are you going to do? You're going to let some guy go out to pull a part and take a part off? Now, it's a genuine part. Absolutely nothing about it. And then bring it to you and say, clean this up, put this on. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, there's no way.
If it's something that's so unique that you can't buy it anywhere, or and there's one out there, I'd still almost be afraid to do it. Now when I was growing up, we bought stuff off of junk cars all the time because we didn't have any money.
Well, yeah.
But we were still careful what we bought it off of.
Yeah, and technology was different. It's changed so fast. But
well, there was no technology.
Yeah, that's right.
There was no technology. You evaluated it by putting it in your hand.
There you go.
And you looked at it, and you tried it, and you checked it. I'll give you another thing. I did a few restoration cars. There's a guy up in Ohio that rebuilds steering sectors, and for all these people that don't know, because so many things have rack and pinion steering, you used to have cars have steering sectors in them, worm gear, little ball bearings that roll in a worm.
Right.
The one thing he will not do, he will not he does not have a steering shaft to put in one when he rebuilds it. And I asked him over the phone because I had a couple of them done years ago. He said, we grind the roughness out of the worm in the steering shaft and keep that same hard steering shaft the way it was heat treated by the manufacturer that built the car.
Okay.
And we put the same tensile strength balls in that are just a click oversized, but they don't change any of the components in the steering sector, but yet they take all the slack out of it. And I said, you are really covering yourself. And he said, that's the only way we'll do it. He said, I wouldn't buy an aftermarket steering shaft from anybody, anywhere in the world. He said, we figured out how to do it where we wouldn't be liable and where we'd be giving the customer the best product. But, you know, and the guy's been around forever because he got a good idea. But back to what I'm going to finish here in a second. I appreciate you letting me rant and rave. See, when you tell people the truth, you don't have to have much of a memory.
Yeah.
And when I ran my well pump business, I used to tell people, you know, I'd be looking at something and it would be absolute junk. And it's drinking water at their house. I'd say, I'm telling you, what you got is just about nothing. Now, I think you'd be throwing your money away if we try to fix this because it's 60 years old. It's paid its dues. You need to call a well drilling guy and drill a well. You know what I mean? And that isn't what they want to hear. They want somebody to patch something up. I just wouldn't do it. But if I tell you the truth and I see you, if you call me back to that same place or they sell it to somebody and I go back out there, I'm going to tell the guy that bought it the same thing. I don't have to have a memory because the minute I get there, I realize what it was. And I remember what I said. But you have to have a really incredible mind if you're going to lie to people. Because when you start lying to people, you got to remember who you lied to and what you told. I never was that smart. I just figured out a long time ago that the truth will set you free. And I used to tell people, I'd say, I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to want to hear it. And I'll bet you that both of you gentlemen have said the same thing operating the garage. I'm going to tell you some stuff about your car and you're not going to want to hear it. And you're certainly not going to want to pay for it. But it's my job you came to me. I didn't come out and drag your car from your house to get your money. You asked me about it. I'm going to tell you the truth. And you're going to have to decide what you want to do. And if it's really something horrible, you just have to tell them, say, hey, you know, you need to take it to somebody else because we cannot be liable for fixing it.
Yeah, it comes down to communication and those discussions.
That's right.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, and you really can't read people unless you're looking straight in their eye. I mean, if you can look them straight in the eye.
All right, Uncle Red, I'm sorry, we're coming up on a break, but if you want to hang on and continue the conversation after the break, please do. But just give us a couple moments. We'll be right back.
No, y'all go ahead. I've said it. I've messed everything up.
No.
I've just said some stuff that I felt like needed to be said.
Well,
needed to be said, and it needed to come from an outside party. You're not on there. You're there to promote your business and to promote good work. But I don't have a dog in the fight. But I've been around a long, long time. And I'm older than Ray, and I have spent a lot of time around machine shops, CNC machines. I know about all of it, and I've done.
Hey, sorry, Ray, we got to go to break, brother. Sorry to cut you off.
I'll see you guys. I'm gonna dial you back up and listen. Bye bye.
Appreciate it, Ray. Thank you, sir.
Facebook page About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
John DeLand here, manager at Crowntown Cannabis, Charlotte's original CBD and hemp resource, where the staff can help you with any questions or concerns. All of our products are third-party tested for purity and quality. Oils, edibles, Delta-9, topical creams, vapes, THCA flower, and products to help with the pets. Visit our new South End store at 115 Park Avenue in the South End. All 4 of our Charlotte area stores are open 7 days a week. Check online for the store near you. That's crowntowncannabis.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. Do you need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO media.com.
Let's face it, we do not like bugs and especially spiders and ants. Unwanted pests in the home are not only creepy, they can also spread sickness and cause significant damage to the structural integrity of our homes. Kilo Exterminating has been taking care of pest control problems in the Charlotte area for over 70 years with award-winning customer service. Moisture readings are standard with all crawl space inspection. Call Kilo Exterminating at the first sign of infestation, 704-333-9855, or online at kilo.biz. Again, that's 704-333-9855.
Mike Libretto here, inviting you to come in and experience Charlotte's best New York pizza and great Italian food at Libretto's Pizzeria. Serving Charlotte proudly since 2008, Libretto's pizzas are sure to please by the slice or grab a whole pie. Pastas, entrees, great appetizers, sandwiches, and wings. A menu to please the whole family. Dine in or takeout, available 7 days a week. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com or call us at 704-714-1442. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. So we got to we're on our third segment here of the morning. Hopefully it's going pretty well. If y'all are get some tips and information out there from us, and we've had a few call-ins and a few messages, and that's been great. So we're going to kind of change it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about some chickens. And it's like, why not? Yeah, we were talking about bees and cars, and why not some chickens? So yeah, I know with the egg prices going up, people are, at least I can tell you that people have decided they want to try to raise their own chickens. And, well, is it economical? Tommy and both John here, they both, I don't know, Tommy, do you have any chickens right now?
Daughter has them with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then John?
We got a few. We've got 5. So I don't know if it counts as, I'm not exactly your prime chicken farmer with 5 chickens, but
no. So we're not looking for chicken farmers. Like people, especially in some of the suburbs of Charlotte or even some smaller homes, they want to go out and get a couple of chickens, thinking they can save money on eggs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
5 is, are you saving any money on eggs?
It is. We call it a nonprofit business. There is no. It started a little while ago. We ended up getting 4 with our neighbor. We bought 10 together. He kept 6. I kept 4. We lost 1 partly through it, and my daughter ended up. Another neighbor had an animal get in, and we got one there was one left from that group. And so we got another one. And then we had another same inch. So we ended up with 5.
Okay.
And you said you named your chickens. Do you name them all?
Well, we did. We have, and we actually lost, I guess it was last fall. We lost either 12 to 16 chickens from
he was feeding the wildlife.
Yeah, I was feeding wildlife.
Right?
And so fortunately we had silkies, which are a little bit smaller chickens, and they're, again, we're not really raising them for their eggs. They're at some point they almost kind of become pets, and just enjoyable to work around. And so we did lose. Yeah, we lost a lot. We actually, unfortunately, we had some small chicks that unfortunately died or drowned.
Mm.
They were just they had just hatched. They were probably about 3 or 4 days old, and we got a bad storm come through. And silkies, they don't like to go into the roost. I mean, you can at least we were having a hard time with it. And so when it rained, I mean, it just downpoured, and in their run area, unfortunately, it had about an inch of water in it. And to you and I, an inch of water doesn't seem like a lot. Even to a bigger chicken, that's probably not a lot. But to a recent hatched chicken, that's a lot. And so and we've learned a lot. We've had chickens for about 4 years now, and so we've learned a lot. And it's not about saving money on eggs. It's just to try to be a little bit sufficient, and then to enjoy raising them.
Yeah.
Back to the naming. So we did have them all named. We had 4 big chickens left. We had 12 of those. We had 12 or so. Of course, my math might be messing this morning, but anyway, the big chickens we all had all named. Anyway, we got 6 new chickens. They were about 3 or maybe a week old when we got them, and now they're about 10, 12 weeks old. I'm sure my wife probably might call in and correct me on that. I'm not sure, but they look. So we got 3. We call them cinnamons, and they look almost identical. And then we have 3 of them that are kind of black with white accents to them, almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
All the other chickens we've had, there's been some sort of characteristic difference. So we haven't figured out how to name these other ones yet. But the ones we have named, they will they respond. They'll jump up on your lap. Yeah, and they sit here and they'll talk to you.
Yeah, chickens will follow you around. Everything else, they'll get very used to you. Yep.
Very inquisitive, very smart.
Yeah,
very smart. Yeah, and we had this one chicken. We called her Tiny, and she was the most inquisitive chicken. And so we put a roosting bar up in the run, and she jumped up on that thing, and we have rope going across the top to keep birds from some of the hawks and stuff coming in. And I was sitting there watching her, and she's looking up. She's looking, and like so when we put that roost up, she's looking up. And by the next day, she learned how to jump out of that jump out, and she would come back in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we couldn't figure out how she was getting back in. Yeah, but anyway, it's smart chickens. But anyway, we learned that they go through cycles throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
During the wintertime, you're not going to collect the eggs that you normally would.
Right.
There's different breeds of chickens that produce more eggs than others. And so, anybody that's kind of wanting to get involved or want to try to save money as far as raising their own chickens, it's more of a love or a hobby than to raise them, unless you have a big farm.
Everything you raise is typically that way. If it's honeybees, having 1, 2, or 3 hives, you can make enough honey for yourself and maybe some friends, but you're not going to make enough honey to pay for all the investment and the time and everything that's put into raising the honeybees.
Right.
You have to have a lot of hives and do it more on a commercial basis, or do some other things like, we supplement not just our honey, but we do the infused honeys. And then we also render the wax, and we make pure beeswax candles. And then we make lip balms and body butter lotions and all those kind of things. And when you diversify like that, then you can make some money doing it. But
Got it.
It's still a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't do it off just one or two because you're not going to pay for your equipment. It's a hobby then, and it's a fun hobby.
Right. Yeah.
It is a hobby.
Yeah, we started the chicken thing was went to Tractor Supply, got the $150 chicken coop that my daughter and I put together in 20 minutes or whatever it was, which then it turned into we needed a run for it, so we got the dog crate run in, the 6x6 panels. Then that was too small, and we added 2 more and added 2 more, and all of a sudden you got a 10x30 run. And then you got to cover it, and because we had free range for a while. And, we've got a little bit of property, and then of course they don't know their boundaries, and they get into the neighbor's garden
or the road.
And so our first 3, so we had, the Rhode Island Reds, we had, Bojangles, Popeye, and Chick-fil-A. Those were our 3. So, and then we got another one that's a fancy, I don't even know what type it is. And so we named that one KFC.
Nice.
And then we got a third one that was an injured, and we called it IHOP because it has 1 leg. So,
wow. Okay.
So we did that, and so, but they're all, and that one literally was a very, very small hen at the time, and so that one got nurtured back, and we weren't sure if that was going to end thriving very, very well, and you can't really tell which one until they start moving around. You're like, oh, there's the one. So, but great chicken. It's good. But having to then keep them confined.
Right.
We've since, if we're going to keep them, it is you talked about the experience and the sound and sitting out there and just listening to them and nature and everything else. It is some, and honestly, sitting on our porch, literally listen to the bees.
Yes.
And the chickens. It's like, it's a different world.
It is. And but you're 100% right. People get different ideas about what they want to raise and have. I had a friend we used to raise sheep. We had a couple hundred head of sheep. I'm sorry. Yeah, we had a couple hundred head of sheep. But I have people come and say, I want to get a lamb. I want to get a sheep. They don't realize you got to shear it. You need to dock the tail. You got to keep it treated. You got to worm it. You got to do all those different things. So they get this idea of this cute little bitty lamb following them around. But that lamb grows up to be a big sheep. Just like a little bitty piglet is the cutest thing in the world. They are just absolutely cute. But when that piglet grows up to be a hog, that's a whole different animal.
That's right.
Okay. Now they can still be fun and friendly if they know you. They're cool, but it's not something it's an investment. It's like a horse. A horse is great. You can ride it. You can, they're wonderful animals. They're great therapy animals.
Right.
But they're expensive to keep up. You can't just put them on a pasture and leave them. They'll get foundered. A lot of things will happen. It's not good. So every species of animal has great benefits, but it's something you got to be willing to take the time and the investment and put into it. And, you're not going to make money off that horse unless you are breeding a race horse or doing something very specific, with that particular horse, a draft horse or something that you're going to actually show or use. And even then, it's still expensive unless you win, you're not going to make anything really off of it. So.
And really, by all means, on this topic, I'm not saying you don't go out and get chickens.
No,
because it's very for us. Of course, my wife is a lot more. She's much more involved in the chickens than I am, but it's very rewarding.
Yep.
Yeah, and she'll, Trish will, she will, we'll come up with an idea on the chicken coop, and I'll put off some other chores to go out and work on the chicken coop. And make it better for them, and so it's just like it's kind of a lot of fun, but
certainly,
but just don't want anyone to mistake that. The reward may not be worth just if you're just wanting cheap eggs. It's not the way to go.
It's not the way to go. No,
it's not.
There's something to be said about the work and the tending and the call it farming, if you will. That's a loose term for what we're doing compared to the real farmers, but. And all the technology that we have, with our phones and the internet and YouTube and all of that, to go outside and just, mess with the chickens, improve whatever process, how we're watering them and making sure their feed is there and they're getting enough and all of that. It's just it's a kind of a reality check, to be honest.
Well, you're talking about technology, so we, and technology still will fail you. because we have a camera inside of our chicken coop.
Yep.
We have an automatic door, and now ring cams do not, they pick up heat, and they pick up some movement. I've yet seen the ring cam pick up. Now I'm sure they probably do, but a snake inside the chicken coop. And no matter what technology we had, we still lost a couple chickens from snakes. And on the camera, no matter how much maybe we hope it was going to, ding us, like, in case something was going to happen, but no. We, and these were the chickens when they were, I don't know, they may have been 6 to, 8 weeks old. So unfortunately, the snake couldn't get the whole thing. It's just, we opened the door and, the chickens in the snake's mouth. And it's, of course, I'm like, you wasted the chicken, Now, I will admit I did kill one snake. But after that, I know there's people talk about, a good snake is a dead snake, which I don't believe. I
like my black racers and my king snakes and those kind, garter snakes even. But
yeah, I was not a snake person. I don't like them, but as we were having these chickens, and then we had almost kind of a snake pandemic there for a little while.
You can. The black racers will eat the hell out of them. Black snakes will eat them.
And
eat the eggs.
And so I had to get comfortable on going there and getting those snakes out. And so that I can't say that I'm 100% comfortable, but I'm better at it than I was. So
my son-in-law had this just on your snake issue, had this it was like a marble egg that he got from, I think, his grandmother, through the family. And you put that in the nest, makes the chickens feel comfortable laying eggs, right? Well, snake got in, and he caught that snake, and he hauled it 2 miles down the road and threw it out. And then he went back and realized that snake had eaten his grandmother's egg.
Right. Yeah.
So he lost it. Oh.
And when it comes to snakes, I'm okay. I was telling Trish this, that, I'm okay with sharing a little bit. If the snake wants an egg or two, you know what? By all means, just keep it at that. But
kind of hard to tell them that though.
Yeah, well, yeah. So anyway, I would get the snakes. I would get them out of the coop, and the first couple I did, I relocated about, maybe 100, 200 yards away. Yeah,
no, that won't work.
No, that doesn't work. Then the next batch of snakes I got probably about 5 miles away, and
that's better.
Yeah, and from that point, knock on wood, we haven't had any other snake issues, but we have had raccoon issues. Yes. And so we unfortunately we had to take care of that a little bit.
Yep.
But so there's getting into chickens and farming, there's things you need to be aware of.
That's right.
Yeah, for some reason we have never had. The coop is pretty much in the center of the property, but we have not had any issues with snakes. I mean, there is some cats out there, some feral cats, and our cat generally goes outside at night. And I don't know if that's the reason or what, but we've never. It's just a strange. We actually have lost. Well, it's more nieces and nephews that collect the eggs and break them, and that's honest, bringing them in, and that's fine.
That's learning.
That's part of it. And the funny story on that is, we had the chickens in the hen house that we bought was dilapidated and time to go. And we're like, all right, are we going to just buy another $150 one, or what's our thing? And we're literally sitting at the table. It was a Sunday after, you're sitting at the counter on a Sunday, and it's like deciding, are we going to not be chicken people, or are we going to, at that moment, literally, I kid you not, in comes one of the nephews with a big smile on his face, and hey, we got some eggs, and brought him in, and we both looked at it, was like, well, there's our answer. And that's what it's for. It's not money. It's not, it's the experience.
Right.
And kids literally learning that process of work, and where does that come from? Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I've got grandchildren, and so Liliana, our granddaughter, when we had a rooster, she wasn't quite she wasn't so sure, but she likes going out there and mess with the egg, and go out there and get the eggs. And when she comes over to the house, she wants to go out to the chicken coop and see those, and they'll sit there and they'll talk to her, and So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I got a pig story I'll tell you if you got a minute.
Well, we got
Back when
absolutely.
I was first teaching school, teaching middle school, back in those days, 79, 80, you could we had the farm up in Stanley, and I was teaching in Charlotte, and I could take 2 to 3 kids that were having difficulties at home and take them to the farm and work their butts off and let them see the animals. We had hogs and everything then, and teach them to shoot, and they had all kind of fun too. They ate what we ate. They learned to eat real canned vegetables and all that kind of stuff. No snacks in between. And they gained a lot of knowledge for that. Some of those people still hang with me today. They're not kids anymore, but you know what I mean.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, one day I got up and went down and was checking the hogs before we went to school. And one of the sows had stepped on a little piglet and just ripped its side wide open. His guts were hanging out, you know. And I figured, well, she'll eat that thing before I get back home. I might as well just forget about it. And I went on to school. Well, I brought one of the boys back home with me that evening, went down to check the sows, fully expecting to see that thing gone, you know.
Right.
But it had crawled up on top of all the other piglets with its guts hanging out, trying to suckle, trying to feed. So I said, well, sucker, if you're going to fight that hard to live, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to help you. So I got that little piglet up, and they're tiny little things in, you know, carried to the house. I heated and bent a needle, got my wife to soak some white thread, and all we had was chloroseptic to kind of numb with, you know. So I sprayed it with that and used some alcohol to clean it with. And I had that little boy help me hold it down on a table while I packed those intestines back in, stitched the inside, and then stitched the outside back together, and looked up that, you know, little piglet's just squealing the whole time I'm doing this, and looked up, and that little boy's just got tears just running down his face, you know. And then we carried it and put that little piglet back down with the sow. Well, that little piglet outgrew every other little piglet in that group. We named him Freddie. And we carried him, you know, with us when we went places, and he was just the coolest little pig, you know. But that's just a story. That kid learned something that he would never learn anywhere else in life, you know.
That's that's an amazing story.
Yeah, it was fun. I love it.
That's great. That same nephew that brought the eggs in had the birthday party. Could go anywhere. You know, all the technology, could go to Carowinds, could go anywhere, do whatever. He wanted to have it at the farm with the chickens.
That's
it's
great.
Like that's what that's what technology can't provide, is that type of interaction.
So I don't want to get too intrusive. Is that the same nephew that had the accident?
No, it is not. The other nephew, we have a nephew that a couple weeks ago had a traumatic head injury and fractured his skull. As of a couple of weeks ago, there was no plans other than survival for him. But fast forward to today, through nothing but God's grace, is he is out of ICU and actually into a room just I think 2 days ago.
That's awesome.
So a complete journey of no brain activity, no according to the doctors, it was no plans other than keep him alive for so it was very obviously life-changing, and there's a long journey ahead of him, and huge support from the community. But Jack's been the focus of the family for a while.
I'm sure.
I am too. Yeah. We'll keep him in our prayers for sure.
There's amazing. I mean, I'm sure I can plug it, but there is today is actually tonight at Michael Waltrip Brewery in Mooresville.
Okay.
There is a fundraiser for him. They're opening up the waitresses of all. They're donating their tips, and there'll be a fundraiser from him from I believe it is from 6 to 8.
Okay.
I might be wrong on the date. Sorry, the time, but it is tonight. Michael Waltrip Racing has opened up their facility, and but they have a long battle ahead with recovery for him. So but we're thankful for every moment we have with him.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll see if we can get that that on. I don't know if we can get that on the Facebook page or whatever, but I think we do to
he's
out there.
4-year-old. It's great.
Very good.
All right, everyone, we're getting ready to take another break here, and we'll be back here shortly
About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Atero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back. So we're on the last 8 minutes or so the show. Made it through it, and having two great guests here, Tommy Townsend and John Wade. So with the kind of closing segment here, Tommy, let's reach out to tell people a little bit more about you, about where they can find you at, where you sell your product at, and how they can get more information.
We are located in Stanley County. It's a Norwood address, but it's actually closer to Aquadale. Mm-hmm. But you can go to springhillfarm.net, find our product. If you're in Charlotte, we come into Charlotte a lot. So if you order from us to save shipping, a lot of times we'll just bring it with us and try to meet you somewhere if you're in Charlotte. We also sell our product. The King's Drives Farmers Market, run by the Simpsons, carries it. The Simpsons Produce at Hemby Bridge. The Bridge Restaurant out there at Hemby Bridge carries our product. The Mint Hill Pharmacy has some of our product. And the Culture Shop has some of our product. And we have others in other areas too, but that's in the Charlotte area. So it's we love meeting new people. We also love having people come out and visit us. We love to teach about honeybees. So if you're ever interested, look us up, give me a call. My number is 704-438-1413. I take direct calls, and I'm always anxious to help people. So thank you.
That's awesome. And in kind of my neck of the woods, I'm kind of more towards Rock Hill, at least where I live at. The peach stand would be a phenomenal place to see if you can get into. That's a really good place. And while you're at it, what can you give me an estimate on what the shipping would be on a 4 quarts and
quart of honey weighs, you get about 2.5 pounds of honey in a quart. Okay. Because we
Got it.
package all of our product in glass. So we
Oh, wow.
wrap them carefully.
Got
And that's to protect the integrity of the honey, because we're very careful about what we sell to people. We want it to have all the benefits the honey really brings. But it runs anywhere from an average of $12 to maybe $20 for depending, 20 something dollars, depending on the weight and how many you get. So a lot of times the more you get is shipped in one package, the
Got it.
cheaper your overall price is going to be. But
Awesome. Good deal. Yeah. Like I said, we have it at Compton's Automotive. If you're in the southwest part of Charlotte, we keep it there.
And I left that out, didn't I? That was stupid.
No, that's quite all right. It's quite all right. John?
Yeah. Supereagle Autocare. We're in off of Orr Road in Charlotte, University area. A little industrial area, but kind of an old school main road. Anybody who grew up in Charlotte kind of has stories about Orr Road and the railroad tracks.
Oh,
it seems to be, but it's definitely growing again. So we're but mainly University area. So that's where we're at. And SuperEagleAutocare.com is the easiest way to make an appointment, get a hold of us. You can text, through that. There's plenty of that's the easiest way. So.
Yeah, and I've been to your shop, and that Orr Road, it's a nice little. There's still some black marks going across there.
It used to be back in the day. Anybody who grew up in the 50s and 60s, they talk about drag racing down Orr Road and jumping the railroad tracks and all that, and so
you
it's.
Used to do that, Tommy?
I'm totally innocent, man.
I'm sure.
I would never do anything like that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Motorcycles and all.
Yeah.
Back when I could ride a motorcycle good,
Yeah. You still got one, don't you?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's certainly calmed down a lot since then. So it's a little more civilized, but we did. It is a great, got some great businesses around us as well. And so we are happy to be there. And thank you for inviting me as well. This was a great opportunity to just come out, hang out, and talk bees.
Same here. I love
stuff.
This is great, guys. It really was.
I learned a lot about bees. I took some notes. So
that's good. You got to come out and see us
for sure. For sure, we will.
Yeah, Tom's got that bee setup. Yeah, it's pretty neat setup out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and your barn that you do all the
honey house. Yep.
Yeah, that's
It's too full. I got to get another building, man. It's growing too big.
Well, that's a good or bad thing. Yeah. And me, I'm the being the host for the day. I appreciate Ray Terry to have his faith in me to run the show today, and appreciate the opportunity. And so I'm Todd Compton. I own Compton's Automotive in Charlotte. Actually, June 21st, it will be 20 years in business. And so my wife and I and the staff, we're trying to come up with something to celebrate the 20 years, and not really sure what. Sometimes I don't have a very creative mind when it comes to those type of things, so I need a little help with that. But I've been blessed to have the people to come to me and keep me supported for that many years, and help support my family through those years in school and all that. And so I'm very thankful. And not that all 20 years have been easy. There's been some really difficult years, but we get through it. But
that's how we learn. And you've got a wonderful wife. You really do.
Yeah, she does all right.
Yeah. I don't know how she puts up with you, but she does a wonderful job.
I don't know either.
I'm kidding.
I don't either. I mean, she'll tell me, she says, I'm cooking dinner. You can be home by 5. Yeah, I'll be there. And then all of a sudden 6:30 rolls around. Yeah. I'm coming to the driveway. So she's been really patient with me.
And she can cook too now. That girl can cook.
Yeah. And of course I know, she's getting to the freeze dried stuff and so she's really taking off on that. She's got the chickens, the freeze dried stuff, and then her garden. So she, I don't know what else other hobbies she wants to take on. But
she's industrious and she's smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's I don't have much more to say for today. Just
that's great.
Just enjoying the show and
well, come out and patronize these businesses and come out and see us. We do like working with people.
I mean, we do have we got about 2 more minutes of the show, and I don't know, I'm about to run out of words.
So, Tommy, do you have schools come out?
We
to
do.
the-
We
to the-
actually teach heritage boys and girls classes and others like
Okay.
that. They'll come out and we'll give them a demonstration. We even go to adult living facilities. I don't
Oh,
mean
nice.
the nursing homes necessarily, but the adult
Sure.
apartment
Yeah, yeah.
complex and all, where they have events and all. And we'll do a presentation there and teach them about products of the hive. And that's a whole nother story because there's so much that bees make other than just honey
Mhm.
that is so healthy for you. So
Oh,
that's another
yeah.
topic. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. By the way, I'm waiting for that. The alcohol. The honey.
It's not over yet.
Mead, what?
No, the honey bourbon.
Honey bourbon. Oh yes, I do have that. I did
No,
make some honey bourbon. That's really,
Yeah.
you got to try because you're my connoisseur. You got to try
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
we did I just carried another 5-gallon bucket down to a brewery down in Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Oh, nice.
And they made mead with the last, and they make a honey. Every time they make a honey out of it, it sells out just bam immediately. It's just
Are you able to say the brewery?
without their permission, I better not. But
Understood.
I would if I
Fine.
had their
That's
permission.
fine. That's fine.
I wish I could. And they'd probably be okay with that, but
Right. Well, next time.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
absolutely.
I'm
I'll
sure-
ask them.
I'm sure we'll have y'all both on the show again. Yeah,
That'd be
maybe
awesome.
maybe Ray Terry would be on the other side here, but
That's fine.
I think both y'all would be great to have back.
If anybody has any questions, just email me or text me and ask me, and I'll answer what I can. If I don't know the answer, there are people a lot smarter than me that I can get the answer from.
Right. So one quick little story before I know we got to in the show here. So next weekend, there's a race going down at Carolina Motorsports Park called 24 Hours of Lemons. Basically, to get in, you have to have a $500 car, and of course, the safety stuff. There's no budget on that. Now, next weekend is my mother's 83rd birthday.
Yes.
So I'm taking her to 24 Hours of Lemons for her birthday.
Nice.
So it's completely out of the ordinary. I did get permission from her first. And I hope she enjoys it. But if anyone in Charlotte, likes to see a bunch of goofy racing, and go down and check it out.
So you actually bought a car and you're entering?
Oh, no.
or you're just watching?
We're just,
Right, right.
just spectator. Yeah, just
Clarifying.
spectator. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
I thought she was going to be driving, man. She's good.
Well,
That's an intense race. That
Is
really, yeah, it's pretty neat though.
yeah. I mean, just some of the penalties that they give you and all that stuff. But
I think fourth place gets the trophy, something like that. First place does not.
Your mother's
True story.
awesome. Also. She really
that's
is.
that's great. That's great. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's fun.
But anyway,
Thank you,
so
guys.
I hear the music. So, well, happy Easter, everybody,
Awesome.
and
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.